Hi, everybody. Welcome to the One Up Yours show for Friday, December the 12th. I'm Garnet Lee. Glad to be here, part of the continuing holiday festivities with the group.
Bah humbug.
What? Oh, dude, don't bah humbug me.
Sorry.
I love Christmas. Love fucking Christmas. Love Christmas.
What are you, 10?
I am 10, yes.
Santa Claus ain't real.
Yes, he is, dude.
no.
He's right here, man. I got Santa in my heart.
Santa may not be real, but Hanukkah Harry is.
Hanukkah Harry. All right, so anyway, that's David Ellis, Shane Bettenhausen is here, and John Davison is here. So we got the regular crew all instilled. We have sound insulation on the walls inside our...
Is that what's making it warm?
It does get kind of warm in here, yeah, doesn't it?
In danger of getting musky.
Take your shirt off, John.
Musky.
You'd love that.
Everyone would love that.
Today on the Musky One Up Yours show, featuring Brit Sweat.
Oh, God.
That's the name of my Guitar Hero band.
That's kind of awesome, is it really?
No.
Oh, it should be now. It should be now. All right, so here's what we're doing. We got what you've been playing in the first two segments. I've pulled, actually, response. So everybody said they loved the Christmas stories.
I loved them.
Yeah.
And yet, when I went to the boards to find more of them for this show, the cupboard was sort of bare. Yeah, we have. Oh, by the way, the clinking of ice is because an incredibly generous listener came by the office, dropped off a bottle of Jameson for us.
A big bottle.
A big bottle.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Yes.
And I'm continuously stunned by how awesome our audience listeners are. This guy left me a great note. He didn't come upstairs, didn't even want to see the office or anything. He's like, I'm here on my honeymoon, but I wanted to drop this off. Like, okay, wow.
I never did anything like that on my honeymoon.
Yeah, I didn't do anything like that.
I didn't, yeah.
But I mean, what an incredibly awesome wife he has too. To like just honey,
Can you imagine the comments like, honey, you know that show that you really hate when I listen to it because they swear and talk about stuff you're not interested in? I'm just going to go buy them an expensive bottle of whiskey and drop it off by their office.
Yeah. So there.
Good man.
What's his name? Are we going to give him a shout out?
I didn't ask if it was cool to do that.
Okay.
So at this point, but if it's cool,
Recently hitched dude.
recently hitched dude.
You know who you are.
Congrats.
Yeah, you know
Thank
who
you.
Thank you very much. Much appreciated.
Your
And
priorities are horribly off, but we appreciate it anyway.
we do definitely appreciate it. So anyway, that's what we're doing. And then in the third segment, we do have the NPDs, which are
Megaton.
we million ton, we 2 million ton.
Yeah.
And then and most of the rest of the news kind of falls around that, although also out yesterday is Home. And hopefully by now the servers have all stabilized and you're at least able to practice your
Dancing skills.
stringing together of dance moves.
That's kind of all that's going on right now.
And visit the diesel store.
Not that I'm complaining.
David and I watched the Twilight trailer and embraced.
It was magical.
Aw.
Yeah.
Then that wasn't the first time
What?
That they'd embraced.
that they'd had a magical embrace.
I embraced your brother this week.
you
I didn't even met him. Big fun brothers.
Shane and I embraced.
We've all embraced
The
it.
other
And
day.
Yeah.
there's photos on my Facebook page of us embracing.
It's a time of
Very red.
in these trying times. You know, a hug makes you feel good.
Yeah. You have to
Well,
embrace
suddenly
your
I
fellow
was-
human being.
Channeling Schooner Tuna ads. And these trying times. Anyway,
Was that from the 60s?
yes, that's from the 60s.
At least.
You saved your war stamps up and bought
Are you
tuna. Wait,
kidding
what
me?
is this?
Your powdered egg and tuna.
You know what? I'm just going to leave the movie reference there, and people are going to like go, oh, I can't believe it. Just all I have to say is 220, 221, whatever it takes. All right, so
I know not of what he's speaking.
Over my head.
We have a show to do.
we do have a show to do. So who wants to talk about like some games they played? Who wants?
I want to do a couple of shout-outs first.
Okay, cool.
So last week we talked about Xbox Live community games, and we mentioned Artoon, amongst others, which you'd played, right, Shane?
I played it. Yes.
Yes. So Oscar, I hope I pronounced his name right, Kozlowski, who's the guy that made Artoon, sent me a note to thank me for talking about it, and wanted to know if you'd played it like you said you would, Garnet. So, Oscar, we'll be talking about it again on another show.
It's been a very trying week, and I've been very stressed. And I have to say that, like the last couple of nights, when I intended to go home and play games, I actually went home, had dinner, and promptly sort of just fell asleep and was like exhausted. There's been a lot going on.
Anyway, Artoon is the Qbert 3D kind of bouncy ball thing. Anyway, also Vincent Saber, PhD. A postdoctorate research associate at the Virginia Institute of Marine Science, would like me to stop trash-talking Rush.
Yes.
Nice.
Fuck yeah.
Further proving that the only thing worse than Rush is Rush fans.
Stop, you
I thought you were gonna say
fucker.
marine biologists.
I thought maybe Geddy Lee himself had wrote to you. No.
Dude, You know what? We're gonna go.
It's become sport now. I'm sorry, Vincent. It was a very nice note. He was very polite.
Over the holidays, we're gonna sit down and watch Russian Rio.
No, we're really
you'll
not.
Be changed. You'll be a changed man. I'm telling you.
When we mentioned Brit Sweat earlier, that got me thinking about how excited I am. John, are you excited? Are you a Blur fan? The Blur reunion?
Yes.
Yeah, that is gonna be
very
awesome.
excited.
All right. Anyway,
And on the top of music, I was corrected. You have to excuse our North American ignorance to anything electronica. I honestly thought Hospital might be the last D&B record label out there because guess what? That sort of music has no presence in America at all. But I was corrected by many folks. And okay, so there's lots of other D&B labels out there. Thank you for the recommendations.
you just haven't been to Ibiza in a while.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And for everyone who tried out the Hospital podcast, hope you're enjoying it. And I got a lot of people who said, "Hey, that's really awesome."
How's your kickback from that going?
Dude, I don't get a
Get a free mix CD from that?
I'm excited that people will go and listen to it. Like, honestly, like coming from North America, you think that sort of music is dead, and you didn't. Okay, I'm glad it's still alive in UK. It's cool. There you go. All right. So back to what you wanted to do with games.
John's been playing new games.
I have been playing new games. I entered the magical world of downloadable PlayStation Portable games this past week.
I wanted to because I saw that Super Stardust came out, and I hear it's really good.
It is very good. I was like hopelessly addicted to it for like a week.
So is it the same game?
Mostly. It's the same game. It's just got some stuff missing
From what they promised.
also from the PS3
So
game.
do the controls work well just with the four face buttons? And
Yeah,
the
so it's
knob?
and so you have weapon selection on up and down on the D-pad. You control with the analog stick, obviously, and then the face buttons shoot. And then what it does is it recognizes essentially 8 directions from the 4 buttons, and then anything in between, it just sort of waves the gun around.
We got a chance to play it at E3, and even back then, it was.
Well, they describe it as kind of auto-aim, but it's a little more vague than that, because what it seems to do is, like, I can't remember the names of any of the guns. The one that's like the Ghostbusters gun. The one that's like the really cool one that break...
The beam.
I think it's ice.
It's like an
icebreaker.
Yeah, one of those.
Yeah.
Because, it has the exact same breakdown. It's like it's ice or rock or...
No, rock is
or
the beam.
fire or whatever. So,
Yeah.
anyway, so you point it in the direction you want it to go, and then it just sort of like waves around in the approximate direction of things, and then it chains things together like it does on the PS3 version. So if you shoot one thing, the beam will go all the way through and catch anything near it. But it's very satisfying on the PSP.
How's it look on the screen?
It looks beautiful. It looks like the HD version just squeezed down onto a tiny screen.
Is it
That's cool.
$9.99?
It's $9.99.
Wow.
It has 3 modes, I believe. It has the standard mode. It has the mode where you have no guns and you have to boost through everything. And then it has a planet mode, which is just, you take the planets one by one. But the survival mode that's promised in the PlayStation Store as being part of the game is not there.
Oops. We forgot it.
But that's it is all about chasing down points. There's the five planets. You work your way through them. Once you've opened one up, you can jump straight to it. If you want to rack up big points, you start at the first planet and work your way all the way through. And it has online score posting as well. So there's a community aspect to it as well. And I just couldn't. I'd never done a PSP download through the PS3 before.
Right. I did Beats. That was the only one I ever did. But I saw that Everyday Shooter is also up there, and it's kind of like between those two. I don't know which one I would get because I like them both, and they're kind of similar.
But the whole because I played around with the PlayStation PC app.
Oh, the PC friend.
Yeah.
Right.
And it was a bit of a mess and didn't really work very well.
Did you try it since the latest update? Or
no, I've not
just when
tried
it
that. But
originally came
I
out?
did everything through my PS3, and you just download it, you unpack it on the PS3, and then when you try and execute it, it says you need to plug a PSP in. Are you going to do that now? Yes. Squirt. 10 seconds later, it's there on your memory card.
Awesome. That's
ready
really
to go.
the way it should be, right?
And it just makes you think, this is how all PSP games should be. I would buy so many more of them.
That is how,
That's the plan.
That is how they are all going to be.
But it also makes you think that, like going back through the back catalogue and them going and redoing old PS1 and PS2 games that would look so great on that screen, that if it's that effortless and they're all $5 or $10,
They should go crazy.
It's basically free money.
yeah.
At this point.
Because I would go back and I'd buy the original Metal Gear for $10, and I'd buy Final Fantasy, and I'd buy like stuff that.
Well, in Japan, they have hundreds of PS1 games on the store that we don't have.
Yeah. But anyway, it was
Jet
a very.
Moto would be a great game for.
I think it's already up.
Yeah, I think it is.
There's
But I mean, like
that-
for like a sort of super. Are you talking about like updated or just the
Well,
classics?
either. I think even the classics. I
believe Jet Moto 2 is available.
Yeah,
for,
Jet Moto 2 is in the classics.
there are several up there.
but it was great, and it's just as addictive on the PSP. And I was very. I played my PSP more in the last week than I have in the last
So when you come to the firing part, is it sort of a deal where you're just sort of smooshing your thumb pad over the buttons?
No,
or is it real
what you
accurate?
tend to do is you play it the way that you kind of, the way you fall into playing Geometry Wars by thinking of it as either a horizontal or a vertical shooter with bits in between. You tend not to Robotron it. You tend to get into a pattern. And because Stardust is mapped onto a sphere, you can just say, I'm going to go right and shoot behind me for a while, and then I'm going to switch up, and I'm going to and so you clear things out, and you kind of impose your own, XY discipline onto the game. So you kind of stop noticing that, there's not that sort of sweeping fire anymore. I think you kind of, I fell into it pretty easily.
How would you compare to Geometry Wars when it was on the Wii? Where you had the directional stuff there without the dual analog stick.
Oh, yeah, I couldn't play the Wii version without
So it obviously works
classic.
a lot better than that.
Yeah, I think it works fine. And I really want to try every day now as well, because...
when they put every day on the PSP, did they go back to having a D-pad controls with it, or do they stay with analog?
It's the exact same setup as Stardust, apparently.
Okay.
Still think it would be great if they did some sort of analog second analog stick with a PSP.
Too late.
I know, and they say they're not. I mean, we don't have it in the news, but they
down
said
the line for that.
But no, they said today there's no new PSP.
There's no new PSP.
We're happy with what we have.
Have you checked out? I haven't actually really sat down with the 3000. I saw Ryan's tweet about it. Is it really like he said it was awful?
It's
the screen.
It's noticeably like it's more blurry. I mean, the interlacing
on 2D games specifically. You really notice it.
I mean, I remember when we had the news story about the pixels and the way they line up and all that technical side of it. But he seemed like just really turned off by the actual.
Yeah, I would say if you don't have a PSP, if you can track down a 2000, I would recommend it over the 3000.
I mean, it is subtle.
Go to Costco.
Nice.
They have a bunch of the old bundles still.
Yeah, and if you don't have another PSP right next to it,
you probably wouldn't know the difference.
You're probably not going to know.
And it is brighter.
Yeah, but I mean, if the fidelity of it's messed up, then what good does brighter do?
A little bit of weird ghosting.
It's an odd decision. I wonder what the thinking behind it was. It just a cost-cutting measure? Or
I believe so. Yeah.
Well, I think it was more also a matter of how do you make the screen work at the brightness.
LED backlit now? Is that the deal?
It's per pixel lit.
Yeah.
It's per pixel lit. But the big problem was someone broke it down is the way the red, green, blue phosphors or pixels work is they're aligned.
Vertically versus horizontally.
Vertically versus horizontally, and it really accentuates the granularity of the screen. So
the interlacing specifically,
right.
It makes it much more noticeable.
That's a shame.
It is sort of.
And I've also been playing Prince of Persia.
Well, how about we do downloadable games? Because
okay.
I'll jump in with another downloadable game because I've been playing one XBLA, and that's Kingdom for Keflings. And I really
like Avatar, like stomping around and making houses.
Heard wildly mixed reports. People love it. People hate it. People say it runs at 5 frames a second.
No, it's not that bad.
It's not that bad. It does have some frame rate issues. I mean, they do a lot of weather and stuff.
Game.
Well, you know what it is, and you'll remember this. It's the Settlers as imagined by like Peter Molyneux on a napkin.
It's Settlers mixed with sort of the Horde, but without the Horde bits.
The Horde.
That was the one that had Kirk Cameron on the front.
3D. It was published by 3DO. It started as a 3DO game, came to Saturn and PlayStation.
Sounds like a winner.
For me, it was.
I mean, it's totally non-confrontational, and the Horde wasn't. I mean, it had, but I mean, the sort of building aspects and the presentation of it is. But yeah, you're right. It's kind of the Settlers, but closer in. Yeah,
the Settlers were closer in. It's sort of like I said, like something I would imagine, like Peter Molyneux just one-offing on a napkin and then them just throwing together because it sort of has that sort of God avatar, you in the game aspect of interaction between.
I just found it a little slow.
It is very slow. It's super chill. It's like a super chill build a medieval village.
Is it chill or boring?
I don't think I think it depends on what you're into. I mean, if you like SimCity or those sorts of relationship, all you're doing is building relationships between resources and resource users.
Yeah.
So I need to make a certain number of people cutting down trees so that a certain number of trees can be taken to the mill, so that a certain number of tree trunks can be milled into planks to build this building that'll allow me to build the next one.
I just didn't find it very rewarding.
It has I'd say the reward is
sort of perfunctory.
I'd say it's probably a 2 playthrough game because the first playthrough you're going to discover how all of the buildings and environments interrelate. So like how much wood do I need? How much crystal do I need? And then the second time through, you're going through and you already know what everything's going to be. Mm-hmm. And so you're going to say, what's the optimum layout that I can make of these buildings knowing all these relationships in this environment that it's given me? And after you've done that a couple of times, you'll probably be done with it.
See, I'd kind of lost interest before I got to that point.
It has a tremendous number of buildings. I mean, I think the fun of it is for me, as it is with any of these sorts of games, is watching as you start to build these more and more complex systems and watching all the different pieces work together. You know, watching the little dudes go over here and mine the rock, and then the rock winding up at the foundry, and then it turning into stone slabs, and then moving over here to the workshop and building all the different buildings. And I mean, sure, it's not going to, I don't think it's going to last that long as an XBLA game, though. It's nicely put together. It's kind of has some character and some splash to it. I think the addition of avatars doesn't add that much to it. I mean,
no, but I mean, as is borne out in the numbers, people downloaded it specifically because.
Oh, absolutely!
You can use your avatar.
Right. That and Uno, they're saying were huge.
Yeah.
I bet there's a fact some people that downloaded it and were like, within 3 buildings having been built, said, "What the hell is this stupid bullshit?" And
I don't think it's a bad game.
Or, why can't my avatar stomp these little dudes and kill them? We can't kick them. You can't kick them.
I didn't find it a bad game. I just found that if I'm not in that kind of a mood, I'm just going to tire of it very quickly.
It's definitely a mood game. I wish there was more music and mood to it, because the music track loops pretty quickly.
Yeah.
Well, Garnet, if you're looking for a downloadable chill game with really good music that isn't boring, I would invite you to play. I would invite you to play Flower, because I know you've also been playing it.
Yeah.
Oh, dude.
You know, at E3, I picked it up and played a little bit, and I thought I loved it already, but until I really sat down and played through what we have is like more than half the game.
Right. And I didn't get a chance to play it at E3, and so hearing you two fawn over it.
I have no sales job. Like, me and Genova sat there and played that same level like 3 times. I was like,
and I gotta say,
this is awesome.
Even if you think you love it after watching videos of it, I didn't know how I really felt about this game until I played through it. And you can't capture the experience, because it's like equal parts aesthetics, which are graphics, music, and gameplay.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay, so tell me about some of the new levels, because I saw the one new level that I actually saw being played. I watched Alice play the Windmills level.
That's the 3rd level. That's like everyone's blown away by it. It's definitely the most impressive level.
Oh my God,
in the game. Have you played this yet, John?
Yeah, it's beautiful.
But what really amazed me, the control. And when I'm hearing more and more people are taking 6-axis out of their games, you're seeing Uncharted 2 has no 6-axis at all. Yeah. To see a company that embraces it and uses it so well, to where you really do get the feel of moving around this environment.
You think about it and you can do it. Like, for instance, I was going forward and I missed a pedal, and I was like, I wonder if I flipped it straight back, would I do a flip, or would I do a 360 and go back the other direction? Sure enough, I did it. Pops up and goes back the other direction, writes itself automatically.
But isn't it a good thing that people aren't arbitrarily forcing motion controls into games?
Right.
Because it really fits this game.
We saw what happened to Lair, High, but
yeah.
And I'm not sure that Uncharted 2 needs motion.
Well, I agree, but I'm just happy that game company is allowed to do what they do, which is so out there, austere, and weird, and like.
And this game is not going to be for everybody. If you want,
I think it is. I disagree. Like, playing it today, I was like, I don't think it's for core gamers necessarily. I was playing it.
That's what I mean.
I was playing it, and Denny from Sega walked by, and he's like, well, how do you die? I'm like, you don't die.
You don't. Yeah.
He's like, what do you kill? I'm like, you don't kill.
I would describe it more as an audio-visual experience than what we've traditionally called a game.
Well, but haven't we and DS taught you anything that, like, if you put this controller in anybody's hands, Flower, I think
people will pick it up.
People are going to pick it up and be impressed.
I agree.
By the gameplay.
But what I'm saying is not insulting it. I think to call it just a game is actually doing it a disservice, because I feel like it offers this. I don't know. For me, like when you get home at night, sometimes you don't want to play like a game where you're shooting people or getting shot by people. And Pixel Junk Eden hit this chord for me, where it was just nice to turn it on and just experience it. I felt with it.
Like with Pixel Junk Eden, I felt like there is a challenge, there's a time limit, like I'm going to lose. With Flower, because you can't lose, you can play it as long as you want, any which way you want. I mean, if you want to play it correctly, it's about speed. It's about doing these combos of hitting flowers that create different musical tones.
Right. But it's interesting is you can create different musical tones based on how fast or slow you're going. You can adjust it depending on how you want to hear it, the tones you want to hear.
I agree. I think they should release this game on like New Year's Day, because it's like the perfect antidote to, like, say you're hungover, say you've been playing shooters all night, you've been playing stressful games all night. Just put this on, you will so be relaxed.
To me, with a testament of how good the motion control is, when you unlock one of the areas, it pulls the camera back, and you see the world explode into like green, flowery substance. And basically, I saw where I was going to be going the next time, because you see these kind of like gray spheres that are going to turn into flowers as you get near it. And I went ahead and adjusted my character in third person, thinking where I would need to go when the camera came out. And when it popped up, I was already over there and going. I was able to do that in 6-axis.
Like, I don't want to oversell the game, because it is like an $8 downloadable game. But
totally.
I'm so happy it exists.
I would say what I don't think you could oversell it. I mean, I think this is something that I think everybody really should at least give a shot and go look at. It's really, really amazing. I think the difference between what you were describing between Eden and Flower is that Eden still maintains some of that game-likeness, right?
Yeah.
Whereas I think this is a game you could hang a flat screen in a gallery and have a controller sitting there and hand it to someone, and they would just be able to. They would be able to have fun with it and get it.
I would say the only gamey thing about it is that you have to press a button, and you can press any button you want.
Right.
It's all the same. It's all the same thing, but. Yeah, the fact you have to press any button makes it a game. But
on the subject of these PSN games, I don't know if you looked at it. There was a new video show that Sony launched this week on Pulse, which I won't even I don't know how they're going to reconcile.
How is that related to Core?
I don't know how they're going to reconcile Pulse and Core. Pulse
is free.
Fight.
And it's basically like a video catalog of what's on PlayStation Network. One thing that was interesting is they have top 10s in there. And remember Lingering Shadows?
It's number one.
Oh, it's number one.
You know where I learned that?
It's $3.
I learned that little tidbit because they were streaming it in home.
But
they're streaming the same show at home.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
I mean, it's the same reason Flow was a huge success because it was cheap, too. I mean, people are willing to take a risk on something that's cheap.
So does Pulse exist because of home?
I don't know. I mean, I think they were streaming it at the top 10 list because that's how I saw that. Literally 10 minutes before I came in here to record.
So the Pulse content is inside home.
I mean, it may be there outside of home, but I didn't see it in the PlayStation Store earlier today.
It's on the website. If you go to the PlayStation Network internet website, then you'll see
it was featured on the store.
Well, they are definitely streaming it inside of home as well because that's how I saw it. I was just walking by and I was like, top 10 list. I like top 10 lists. I'll look at it.
Who doesn't?
Yeah.
We've joked about it before. I mean, how long can they really maintain Core as a for-pay subscription service?
I think that's already done. I think when they see
it's free.
I think when
it's free this month, right?
Exactly,
Yeah.
And I think when they see the numbers from that, there's no way they can continue charging.
But then if they take it free, how do they differentiate between Core and Pulse?
Good question.
What's interesting because
why bother?
They got two shows.
Call it Pulse Core.
Well, here's the question: who's producing Pulse? Is it Sony internally? Because Core is a Future brand.
Good question.
And so Future is the people that want to make money out of it, probably more so than Sony, I would think.
Also, Core was part of the transition from it being PlayStation Underground,
right?
Which was a video. I don't know if you remember the old PS1 disc, and then which it was tied in with OPM and sort of in a tangential kind of way. And Core seems like the sort of stopgap Underground, but then they came out and said, "Okay, Underground's done. It's over.
Right.
Everything is PlayStation Network." And it's like Core doesn't really fit in any of it.
No.
And we bitched about this last week.
Yeah.
I mean, it was always a bit of
a ton. David, do you play any downloadable games? We're all over the downloadable games.
Flower was it. I mean, I've had my brother and some friends from the East Coast in on most of the week, so I haven't been playing too many games.
They've been playing drinking games.
Did anyone download the new Echochrome stuff?
It's like 1,000 levels or something?
Yeah, they're the user-generated levels.
Echochrome it hurts my head, that game.
Because it's white with black art.
No, it's really hard.
Well, and
not all the levels are really hard. Some of them are just fun.
Yeah, I mean, some of the early ones are, but once you get into it, the brain hurts.
You can see where you are.
A little imprecise, I felt that game.
No, that was my main problem with the controls.
I agree with that. Yeah. There were times where I had my guy lined up, and I was sure that he was making that leap up to the platform that was in perspective higher than it was, but then he'd fall behind it.
But also, just turning the camera around felt a little weird.
I wanted to like it, but then I realized it only made me sad.
Oh,
so I did not buy it.
All right.
So, I mean, I've only been playing download games on PlayStation platforms because while my previously broken Xbox was on its way back to Microsoft, the replacement that I'd pulled out from somewhere else also broke.
I got to knock on wood because, I know so many people who've had bad luck with Xboxes, and I've had
this is my
good luck with
fifth now.
Yeah, I've never had one breakdown either. You still have a launch one, right?
No, the launch one is back here at the office. I don't know who has that now. I have an Elite that I picked up. I don't know. Right after the chip change. Right after the motherboard fix, so that at least it doesn't have the warping problem.
Right.
It still has the hot chip on the.
Mine
graphics,
now freezes when it boots the NXE, and it's a hit and miss. So it's not red ringing. It's just freezing when it gets.
A pain in the ass.
Have you tried switching hard drives?
I tried popping it off. The other thing though is that what it's reading is you have two profiles. I have a profile on my hard drive that's my son's, and then mine's on a memory card, and it won't read the memory card anymore. In fact, if I can get into the system, it doesn't even acknowledge that the memory card's plugged in.
Whoa,
Weird.
That's weird.
You know what's weird about all of this stuff is when NXE was about to come out, we had really, really, really strong. Like everyone felt comfortable about the rumor that there was going to be another round of Xbox failures based off the launch of NXE.
Didn't really happen.
And
I haven't heard about it.
yeah, it didn't really happen.
Maybe John's the beginning of the epidemic.
Yeah. This
Maybe
is
it was a time bomb.
the first domino to drop.
I was wondering. I was wondering if it actually happened and they were just good at squelching it, or if
It's weird though, because there was like a power failure or something in the house, and I turned the 360 back on, and it boots, and then it gets to the welcome thing, but the profile is a silhouette, and I can't interact with it.
It's not loading it.
It's not. It's like it's not booting the entire system for some reason. I don't know what it is, but
I
it's annoying.
I got some amazing crashes today on my PS3 trying to get into home. It took me 2 hours.
A lot of people were
definitely
bitching about that.
But I did eventually get into home.
Yeah.
So
we'll definitely hit on that in the news. I'm interested in not only hitting on that in the news, but then starting to do some preliminary comparison.
How whelmed are you? Under? Over?
I'd seen it before, so I don't know. It functions.
It functions.
Until my friends are there in my room hanging out.
It's every bit Second Life that I thought it would be.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, you should see David's avatar. It's
pedophile extraordinaire. Yeah.
Not so ambiguous.
I am happy that they have the Sully's Bar from Uncharted ready. That's cool.
Oh yeah.
And there's a Far Cry area that's ready to go too. I think the game spaces are what's going to make it.
Yeah.
Initially
That's very cool.
They're kind of cool.
There's a diesel store in there, right?
Yeah.
I hear there's something that costs $5. There's
a lot of stuff.
Some object costs $5 real.
An avatar related item.
A chair is like $1.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah. If you want to put in your apartment. I will never pay money for anything to put in my apartment. You can mark this date down, and we'll never spend money on it. I will have
millions of people are annotating this right now, so they can come back and go.
I will have
David Ellis. He was full of shit.
I will have the Coca-Cola Far Cry 3 extraordinarily gauche apartment that everyone's gonna love. So
everybody's gonna love.
I'm gonna whore my apartment out and take all the freebies.
Your apartment brought to you by the following sponsors:
Yes.
Red Bull.
Yeah, Red Bull beanbags.
All right, so you were going to talk about Prince of Persia then. It seems like we've made it through all of the downloadable content since this is.
So real games now.
So real games.
Prince of Persia.
No, that's not fair. Games on discs.
Games on. Yeah.
Unless you
might be able to purchase at a now dying brick and mortar establishment.
Unless you get it on Steam, then it's all digital.
Indeed.
Ooh. Yeah. Anyway,
I really like it.
Blasphemy! Throw him out.
Even though it holds your hand, literally.
That's sort of why I like it.
It's the anti-Mirror's Edge. How could you possibly
like it? It's very kind of it's somewhat passive.
I'm gonna love it, aren't I?
Yeah, because you
can't fail.
Yeah.
So I might be able to just have fun and play the game.
You can't die. You can't, even if you fall off something, she pulls you out.
Yeah, no. So that was the big thing, is that before they have done that with the time device, where you had the ability to rewind.
Yeah.
Right. Well, it's different time devices, wasn't it? Different.
Yeah, but you could run out of time.
Yeah.
You could run. You could run out of.
You
magic
never
sauce.
run out of Elika.
Can Elika die?
Not that I'm aware of.
Why doesn't she just save the fucking world herself?
That is a good question, because
you have to go and get the light seeds because she runs out of juice.
All 1001.
Yeah. So she's a drug addict.
Technically, yeah.
She wants your seed.
You got to go give us some seed between levels. God.
You got to be deliberate to get those seeds too.
But you get to that. So what I found in the opening segments of the game was that I was overthinking the controls, and that it's actually way more dumbed down than you're actually expecting.
Yep.
Because I was trying to do a wall run down this little corridor, and I was jumping and then trying to hold the X button down or whatever, and hoping that he kept jumping off, and then the camera would go all wonky, and I'd be like, "What the hell is going on?" And I got to some other point, and all you have to do is actually just run up to the wall, hit the button once. And
you were canceling the automatic wall run.
Exactly. Yeah. Yes.
The game was like, "No, John, no, John, hands off.
Stop being an idiot.
Stop trying to play."
But what you get into is that the way that, particularly in Sands of Time, you would get into this sort of just rhythm of nailing one thing after another, and everything has this giant sucky magnet on it, so that you're running along and you leap up into the air, and he'll kind of suck down onto a perch and then leap up and grab something to swing on. And the only way you fuck up is if you lose his inertia. But even if in midair you realize that you lost inertia, you can hit a button and she'll kind of come along and she'll give you a boost.
Is the combat as easy as the platforming?
The combat's kind of different. It's very
rhythmic.
It's rhythm.
Assassin's Creed-esque, right?
Kind of, yeah. So like a guy, the combat is in these like predetermined, like it's almost like these arenas that it pops up at certain points where you're sort of rescuing an area, and this like demon will come up out of the ground, and you have. It's basically 3 moves, right? There's an acrobatic move. There's a claw. He has that claw thing on his gauntlet, and a sword move. Oh, and then there's a magic move, which is where you call her in.
Yep.
And then combinations of the two, along with a block, which will do a parry.
Yeah, and if you build the combos up, you'll throw the enemy up in the air, and you'll just keep knocking them way in the air.
So in a lot of ways, it is. The way Assassin's Creed was, it was combos of a few really simple moves. There's been a few games that have done this recently. Fable as well, kind of that, like that. In fact, it's a lot like Fable. Come to think of it, and very often there'll be a point in the battle where the demon thing does like a sort of deadly strike thing, and if you don't parry it or dodge it or attack it, he'll knock you down to the point that you in a normal game would die. And Elika steps up and like pushes him back with magic, and then the boss's power gauge goes up to like 3/4, and you have to kind of do it again. But that's how it manages essentially a live system in the battles. And they get quite complex, and you have to start nailing the timing much better.
And some of the bosses, you have to do specific things like move them towards certain areas of the level to take out certain columns.
Yeah, and there's achievements that are attached to specific moves in the combat, so that there's one of them where you have to push them against the wall with the gauntlet and kill them pushed up against something, and there's one where you have to push them off something. And
this does not sound like a passive experience. It sounds like you're actually doing a lot of things and playing a game.
You only have like 4 enemies per level that you fight. So.
Yeah, there's not combat all the way through the way the previous. There is like there's So there's the exploratory kind of dark platformy bit where you're learning the environment, and it's all like all the life has been sucked out of it, and then you get to the end, and then there's a fight. And then you bring life back to the environment, and then you have to then you have to recharge Elika by hunting for the seeds, which then appear in the light environment, and then to kind of exit that particular area.
There's always retraversal of the level every time?
So you go in, you kill something, and then you're sort of on your way back out to recharge Elika's magic, and then there's another boss fight before you can get out.
Has the level changed any from the first time you went through it?
Well, yeah, it goes
visually.
Aesthetically, it's
but like layout-wise and
no, it's the same.
No.
It's the same.
That's a little bit recycly.
Well, one thing is you do have to collect a certain number of light seeds to even unlock other levels.
Yeah. So the map is open in portions. So once you get through the initial part of where you meet all the primary characters and it sets up the narrative. Then there's like 4 or 6, I can't remember, initial places that you have to go because you have to heal the earth. It's all very kind of granola crunchy kind of.
It's very Gaia.
Very yeah.
Flour also very granola.
Yeah,
very.
But that's cool. And you can choose to do them in whatever order. I mean, people have been saying, "Oh, it's like an open world." It's not. It's like
a hub.
It's hub based, and as soon as you've unlocked things, it gradually unlocks others. And the only way to unlock more is to gather more of these seeds. So a lot of people that are talking about it online is
Mario 64.
They're gathering as many as possible early on when it's easy, so you don't have to bother later on because you don't need all. There's 1,001 in the game, but you can unlock the game. Everything in the game with like half that.
Yeah.
However, Shu would have to probably get all 1,001 because there must be an accomplishment for that. I'm sure achievement.
I'm sure there is. Yeah. But there seems to be there are achievements for pretty much everything. There's achievements for There's an achievement for starting the level.
Yep.
well done.
Stepping into level 1. Well done.
You figured out
5 gamer points.
That reminds me of the Simpsons game where you got
screen.
If you hit start the game, you got 5 achievement points.
But there's also a lot of achievements attached to the interactions with Elika. So the cutscenes, if you can call them that, are all you walk up to her and you hold down one of the shoulder buttons and he'll ask her a question. And the conversation, you just keep initiating the conversation. And the narrative only unfolds through these conversations and only if you're standing still and walk up to her.
Weird.
Right. It makes it completely optional. So if you don't want it at all, you don't even have to skip anything. You'll never know you're missing it.
Yeah. So you don't have to learn why she's magical and what's going on with her dad and who this demon is that's stuck in the life or what the tree of life or whatever the fuck it is.
Yeah.
Is it a full reboot? Or are there any references to past Prince of Persia's
None at all.
None at all.
The name is pretty much it.
All right.
So,
and he doesn't really look like a prince. He looks like a gypsy
she's a princess, but there's no reference. Well, I mean, I'm not far enough into it, but I mean, he's just What I found
a
really
vagabond
interesting
looking
about
for his
some of the
ass.
It's that necklace he's wearing.
Or the claw.
but a lot of the reviews, particularly the Eurogamer one,
I figured it out. He only wears one glove. He is Michael Jackson's son, Prince, born into an adult.
Exactly.
What did Eurogamer say?
Well, they didn't like it because he's such a smartass.
Oh.
And their enjoyment of the game seemed to have been marred the most by the kind of smartass
does he
character.
make sassy comments as he runs through the levels?
He's pretty cheeky all the way through.
Yeah, I mean,
which I kind of like, and I really enjoy the relationship that's slowly unfolding between him and Elika, because it starts off and he's just like runs into this girl in the middle. He's looking for his donkey at the beginning of the game, and like he runs into this girl, thinks she looks like pretty nice, chases after her, and suddenly there's all these guards with big swords chasing after him, and he's like, what the hell is going on here?
Yeah.
And just you kind of get sucked into her story, and he's slowly kind of hitting on her most of the time.
Mm-hmm.
Yo, Elika, how you doing?
Yeah, but he's very modern in the way that, I mean, he's very kind of 21st century character.
Well, the American accent
with
has
American
something to do with
accent, but like mannerisms and some
He's
of the
learned how to flirt,
expressions.
in other words.
But what Eurogamer and a few other reviews had said they didn't like is that it seemed completely out of place with the setting, and that was kind of what I liked about it. That it wasn't doing this sort of like, you know,
It didn't take itself seriously.
No.
I think if they would have straight up ripped off Eco's relationship with Yorda, it would have been far too obvious. So I think it's better to make it different.
And there is a lot of like, you know, he'll grab her, and like when he's crawling across vines, she's like hanging onto his back, and like they kind of there's a lot of like switch pulling where there's things really high up where he can wall run up to a certain point, and then he'll boost her up. She'll grab the switch, and they'll both fall down together. And so it's got a really nice flow.
It sounds to me like you'd like this game a lot.
I've enjoyed it so far, and I would play it more if my fucking Xbox worked. Maybe I'll play the PS3 version.
Oh dear. All right. Before we take a break, I thought I would throw.
Wait, I have a game I was going to talk
We're going to come back and do more games.
Oh,
More games in
okay.
the second segment.
I wasn't sure.
Yes. So before we take
No shame. That's it.
Yeah, that's it. We have we're going to do esoteric stuff in the second segment. We're going to talk about more games. I'm going to take us out to break with a little holiday story. This one is from,
Tell us a story, Garnet.
This one is from Ying versus Yang, and it's how my Xbox almost killed me on Christmas, or maybe it was actually my ex. It's like it was Christmas of 2003, if I remember correctly, and my then girlfriend got me an Xbox. I had been waiting for the system for long, and it was one of the coolest presents I've ever gotten from a girl. I still lived with my parents then, and she offered to cook Christmas dinner, and he puts in parentheses here, don't think she was perfect, turned out to be a hoe. Nice.
Spoiler alert.
Spoiler alert, she turns out to be a hoe.
Oh, now I know how it ends.
I was going to say, did he want that part read on air?
Done now.
Well, clearly he's not with her anymore.
Yeah.
So we had dinner, traded gifts, and everything was cool, but I couldn't wait for everyone to leave so I could finally get my hands on the system. Wrong things to be waiting to get your hands on, but anyway, that's why she turned out to be
Especially
a hoe.
if she was a hoe.
Exactly. Anyway, after anyone leaves, I plug in the huge black box and go crazy with Tetris and Clone Wars. That's the 2 games in one disc that came with the system. Around 4 a.m., my stomach starts feeling bad, like really bad. I start feeling dizzy, feverish, throw up all the time. My room starts spinning around, and I realize I have to throw up, something that I really hate and I can't do. So I run in the bathroom as quietly as I could since my family's sleeping. Didn't want to wake them up when I get to the bathroom. So anyway, he gets sick. He winds up with food poisoning.
From the food,
the worst
from the
holiday
food she
story.
cooked.
From the food she cooked, right.
Who is right?
So it turns out that he had food poisoning. My stomach was like shit, pun intended. Now, the saddest part of this is that he associated having gotten super sick with the smell of the just out of the box Xbox. And if you've ever opened like a piece of electronics, you know there's like that weird like.
Oh, that
musty.
sucks to get that
Yeah,
association.
'cause I still have a tequila aversion from college.
Yeah.
So for
But
like
that
2
smell,
weeks.
that's one of the most intoxicating. That's like new car smell. I mean, that's like,
Yep.
New console smell.
yeah.
So he had to take the Xbox out of his room, and for like 2 weeks, like right after he got into Christmas, couldn't play his Xbox at all because it smelled like what made him sick. And every time he smelled it, he was like, "Oh!"
It would be funny. He gets a new console now and he just like vomits. That's a tragic
Oh,
Christmas.
yay, a Wii.
He also added the moral of the story is never let a girlfriend cook Christmas dinner. So there you go.
Wow.
There you go, folks.
Wise
So,
words to live by.
Never let a
Especially
girl-
if she's a hoe, 'cause you don't know what. Maybe she didn't wash her hands before she cooked.
That's right. You wanted to get your hands on an Xbox. Who knows what she wanted to get her hands on?
Ew. Ew.
Is that a turkey neck?
Okay, break.
All right. So yeah, stick around. We'll be right back on the other side with more what you've been playing. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back. All right, I have my peanuts and a towel. We're ready to get out there and
You have your penis and a towel?
Yes, my my peanuts.
Oh,
I have my peanuts.
I also thought you said
and
penis.
a towel.
What,
I was glad you were sitting on the other side of the table.
I thought, why are your peanuts in a towel? Like, what does that even mean? Is that
have
a
peanuts in a
reference to
towel.
whatever, like, the silent film you're talking
well,
about?
at least you're a
if you have
gentleman
a
and you're
towel,
offering to clean up
if you have a
afterwards.
towel and peanuts, you're ready.
For
Yo.
what?
That's a hitchhiker's reference.
So you don't panic.
Oh,
Is that why
okay.
I said, I said don't panic during the break?
Yes.
42. All right, let's go.
Oh, that's
That's
true.
right. Just make sure and ask the right fucking question. Anyway, and
We
the
were
right question right now is what else we've been playing
On disc-based media.
on disc-based media. I played a lot of. So we talked about Prince of Persia, which you said was very easy to flow between things, and I've been continuing to play a lot of Tomb Raider Underworld, and I really, really, really like the game. I mean, first of all, I'm now 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 levels into it. There has not been a lot of combat, which I think is really good because the combat engine is weak. There's been a lot of it.
When I watched the combat in one of the show, it was a lot of flipping around, shooting things 100 times.
Yeah, it's still like that, and that's fine. And we've already slagged that for what it is. The thing is that it is not. I mean, it's not the super easiest thing in the world. You still do have to make the jumps, and so it has a degree of interactivity where you still feel like you're absolutely doing every move with the controller and making the right. Whether combinations of moves and
the controls feel
button
precise. It's not like old Tomb Raider.
They do feel
where
precise.
it's tank, no.
No, it's not really super tanky. Although it does have a lot of. It does still as you get more advanced in it, it does have a lot of the shimmying into just the right spot on a ledge or on an overlook before you make the jump. Because if you're not in just the right spot, then you miss. And I swear to God, I hate when you're jumping in 3D space
And you can't see where you need to jump to.
and you can't see where you need to jump to. How do you know
Hello,
that?
Sonic Unleashed.
God,
Yes.
damn it, that's a pisser. That's a pisser. And then the relative controls, trying to get the right alignment because it does have a fully. What do you call that when there's no notches? I mean, you can aim in almost any direction, and so when you jump with the stick aiming and angling in a direction, sometimes depending on where the camera is and where Lara is, you think that you're intending to jump.
So are you aiming with the right stick?
Yeah.
Okay.
So what becomes important is, and I just remembered this, and I mean I've done it in all the other Tomb Raiders, and it just took a little while to come back to. Is it's important to, especially before.
So the right stick isn't camera?
It is camera. No, you're aiming with the left stick when you go to jump.
Oh.
But that's what I say is with the right stick, it's very important to bring the camera around to the right spot relative to where the character. Yeah. And that's kind of annoying in this day
Isn't
and
there
age,
like
right?
a center button to center behind her? No, I would think so.
I think they're actually. Well, wait a minute. Let's see. What
happens if you
that's
click on
lock
the right
on.
stick?
That's fire. That's sticky grenade. I think actually
bends over without bending a knee.
So
Anyway.
as a big Tomb Raider fan, you are pleased.
Dude, I'm really happy with it. Yeah, it's like it's very much back to the older vibe of lots and lots of exploration, lots of places to find, really, really, really cool environments to explore. I think the only knock I have right now is that they've used this mechanic 3 times of come into a level and then go to 2 or 3 sub areas and find part A, part B, and part C to assemble.
When did this
Mechanism
come
D?
out?
3 weeks ago?
Okay, so it was in November.
Yeah.
Didn't chart.
No, it didn't chart. I think it's very unfortunate.
So what's it going to take? I mean, like there was a time years ago where a Tomb Raider was an automatic straight in at number 1.
Right.
That was a long time ago, John.
Yes.
Yeah, but I mean, what's it going to take to make it good again? I mean, in terms of sales, not in terms of quality.
In terms of sales, I would think it would take a really strong developer and a really strong team behind it.
You
and
think Crystal's enough?
No, I
I
don't.
think it would have sold better at another time of the year.
I think it would have sold
think that's
better
a really
another
good
time of the
point,
year.
actually.
Maybe August.
But
Or even like
Spring.
spring,
Yeah.
like March games do really well.
who is Lara anymore? I mean, Lara is someone for the people who hate Tomb Raider to make fun of, and for the people who like Tomb Raider to apologize for. And that's not a good character, and that's a shame. I mean, because that's really part of the problem
So
here.
she needs a like Battlestar Galactica type reboot.
Absolutely,
Like make it make it more realistic and more grungier and like
we have nothing else to talk about. You just nailed it.
take out the fan. It's a bit too.
You're right.
The thing that puts me off is it's a little bit too fantasy.
A little bit too fantasy. At the same time, they need to re-embrace some of the things that people loved about Lara. For instance, why is it that, everybody knows her identikit outfit. Mm-hmm. So why is she never in that? Why am I, running around, like we talked about it last time, in jungle pants? No, it's so fucking dumb.
Fans like the fact that every level has a new outfit.
Yeah, there's a sort of dress-up Lara.
Okay, I agree. There was sort of a dress-up.
That was introduced in Tomb Raider 2 and 3. It's not a new concept of giving her different outfits.
No, I get that. But I think that what they need to do is, instead of them being so generic dress-up kits for Lara, really be part and parcel of what's cool about this outfit, and why is it cool that Lara's wearing it, and why is she wearing it?
I think they thought that Legacy or whatever.
But David Ellis is totally laughing.
I'm just saying,
the only reason a doll.
Yeah, exactly. The only reason Lara was in the outfit in the original Tomb Raider to begin with is because it was easier to see her tits.
Nothing wrong with that.
It became iconic.
I'm not complaining.
It became iconic to 12-year-old boys who liked seeing her nude. It's a little silly. I think I'm agreeing with John here that they should be a little more serious and realistic with it.
I think the impression though is I think they did that.
So you don't want to see that Lara though.
God.
Tell me you don't want to see that one. We're in Jeff Green's office. There's this awful, old and decrepit Lara, with a smoke and hanging out of her mouth.
I am 8-bit.
It's horrifying.
Do you guys still keep the One Up Yours blog going? We should put it on there.
Yeah.
No, we should. Yeah, you know what? I'll snap a pic of that and get it up between now and Monday or Tuesday next week.
With Legacy and even with Angel of Darkness, I think the Eidos or Crystal or whoever felt that they had rebooted it in a Battlestar kind of a way, but I don't think they went far enough.
I don't think they felt they rebooted it in a Battlestar sense. I think, well, first of all, Angel of Darkness, don't lump that in. That was Core's last gasp to try and prove that they were relevant.
That was a failed reboot that was very backtracked from.
Yeah.
And I think that what happened with Crystal is that they looked at the game and they said, what do we need to get back to as the core competencies of making Tomb Raider work? And I think they very much hit on those. They hit on the exploration. They hit on the sense of wonderment and where are you in the environment? They had just enough combat balance with the exploration, and they've done that well. And this is probably as far as you could take a reskinned, proper old Tomb Raider without really rebooting it for, hey, it's been 10 years since that was really great.
It's weird. The character just completely turns me off. I have no interest. And I'm very excited for Uncharted 2. I played all the way through Uncharted 1. So I like that genre.
Yeah. But
I've never been interested in Lara Croft as a character.
But she seems
myself.
silly. Silly and cartoony,
because
juvenile.
they've never explored the character except in really broad strokes.
No, but she's just such a ridiculous character that I don't want to explore her.
Why do you think she's ridiculous?
It's a lot of 12-year-old boys do want to explore her.
What about her makes her ridiculous?
I've actually never played through a whole Tomb Raider, but I sat through a demo where whatever the last game was, where it was about her mom and the cutscenes. I was just laughable. I just couldn't take any of it seriously.
Okay.
Her character just is so outlandishly unrealistic in every possible way.
Right.
The films, but all of it. I don't know. I just don't buy it. Don't buy it.
The movies were pretty.
Yes.
Well,
especially the second one.
Come on, dismiss.
Yeah.
Are we going to hold the Resident Evil movies against Resident Evil?
But the movies were a part.
Mark McDonald loves Resident Evil movies. Don't speak poorly of them.
Well, I love Mia Jovovich, and I liked the first Resident Evil movie, but sort of since then it's gone downhill. Although I thought that the
Tomb Raider
cutscene movie was pretty good.
Were more intrinsically linked to the new Lara games. They were more in tune with one another. The branding was the same.
Do you think so? I think a lot of that linkage came because of the fact that they blamed the poor box office of the second film on the bad game. That was they went back and created that linkage in order to justify, we spent all this money making this big movie and it didn't work because of some game. It's not our fault. It's not our fault.
I don't know. I see what the Bond handlers have done with James Bond and made it much more grittier, more realistic, relatable, and that's what needs to happen, I think, to Tomb Raider.
I agree, but how well has Quantum of Solace gone over?
Very well. It's made hundreds of millions of dollars. I didn't get as good reviews as Casino Royale, but
right, exactly.
It's definitely a success.
It's okay. So wait a minute. Are we talking sales success or are we talking critical? I thought we were talking critically about Lara.
But with Tomb Raider, we are talking about both because Tomb Raider certainly didn't crack the top 10, and I don't recall seeing it in the top whatever it was that MPD put out today. What was the full list? It was more than 10, right?
No, the overview that they send us out is 10.
Okay, but it didn't. Resistance did better than Tomb Raider. And Resistance is only on one platform, and Tomb Raider was on 6?
It's inexcusable for where Lara is, and I think that it comes down to it starts with the character, and I agree that I think Lara really, really, really needs to be examined and brought into 2009, 2010.
Yep.
And that they've established that the game. I think they've established very well that the game works, and that style of game is very appealing and can very much work. But now they need to pull it off as a 2009-2010 game as opposed to a reskinned version of a 1996 game.
Yeah. There you go.
But it's still a good game. I still think Underworld is Underworld is worth your money, and you should go play it. And if you like that sort of game and enjoy it, it's fun.
I was going to say, with that caveat,
it's fun.
If you liked Tomb Raider games,
I have a good time with it.
Yeah.
The later levels are falling more into pattern, and again, like I said, you just go here, get this, go here and get that, go here and get that, and then bring it all together and make the machine
and
work.
Nobody really thinks it's bad. I mean, it's like a B-level game, but in a season full of AAA games, it's
I wouldn't even say. I'd say it's an A game.
Okay,
it's not AAA, but it's definitely an A quality game. And anyway,
yeah,
I do like it. I do like it. I mean, admittedly, I've always been a Tomb Raider fan, and that plays a lot into it, but I still think it's really solid in that genre, and I think that all these games really do create their own identity space. With Prince of Persia being the get into the flow, follow the rhythm, don't have a big risk of failure. I mean, in Tomb Raider, you will die. I mean, it's not hold your hand. There is no one to swoop in and save you when you miss a jump, or rescue you if you get killed by the bad guys. But it's not nearly as repetitively punitive as Mirror's Edge, which is very much about practicing and perfecting your skill of playing the game.
Also outsold Mirror's Edge, so Laura can champion that victory over what's her name.
Riccatello assures us that Mirror's Edge will be back, although
I hope so.
Although realigned and imagined such that it's a better success that matches the quality of the IP. I think
it'll just be a first-person shooter.
I was going to say, hopefully they go in the opposite direction and don't just try to make it a first-person shooter.
Really?
But I fear that's probably what they're going to do.
I hope not. Really?
I think it would be a shame if they did.
It would be. I agree with you.
They go, Dice, what are you really good at?
You know what I think is going to make a big difference?
Massively multiplayer. There'll be a lot of carriers.
DLC does. Seeing how the DLC does.
Yeah.
If it performs well, that's going to have something DICE can have in their hand and be like, the core movement, the way you move around this world, people really like that and they want more of it. And so maybe it's the gun part they need to take out completely.
And I think the people that got into the time trial mode got more out of that than they did out of the story.
That's unquestionable. I mean, I think the thing that really people took away from this was how fun it was to master moving through the environments and get down really doing that perfect run. I mean, this is very much a run game, right? Like when we used to have like speed runs on Mario and stuff like this. This is very much a speed run game, right? It's like, I've mastered this. I know exactly how to take this perfect route through this environment.
I don't think you mastered it.
I didn't.
No.
Hey, I willingly admit. I mean, people were saying that like I was like now the Peggle generation or whatever. I don't.
Hey, there's nothing wrong with being part of that generation.
There's nothing wrong with being part of that, right?
We welcome everyone.
I'm kind of in an in-between spot. I mean, I don't want to I don't find that just that sort of casual experience like that keeps me satisfied, because you're right. I mean, I agree with the people who said, hey, if you don't have some sort of fail state, then how do you ever enjoy the success state?
Hey, flower, no failure.
And I love Flower, but I mean, I think Flower makes your argument for casual, doesn't it?
It does.
I mean, that's all about the music and the experience, and there's no fail. And
my mom could play Flower.
Would she like it?
She likes flowers. I think she might.
Anyway. So we sidetracked very, very.
Yeah, that's enough Tomb Raider. I'm sick of that bitch.
All right, so what else did you play, Shane?
Well, I got a big one. I didn't get to play it, but I can talk about what I saw. And it's a game from our friends in Paris called Heavy Rain.
Yeah, you can talk about this now.
Yes, I can.
Oh my God,
nice.
I have a preview up on one. You can go read it.
I will say that right now, Heavy Rain, Alan Wake, probably tied for number one most anticipated of my games.
So Heavy Rain looks so much more interesting.
Okay,
than
so
Wake.
I went into
for me.
All right, I played a little bit of Omicron, and I watched.
You never played? Oh my God, dude! You should
I need to go back and finish it because I love David Bowie.
Omicron is awesome.
I have it for Dreamcast.
Very good.
I'm gonna go back and play it maybe over Christmas. And I meant to play Indigo Prophecy. I've watched people play it.
Dude, if you need a copy, I will give you.
I have it on my hard drive. I have
it at my house.
So,
yeah.
And I'm an old school adventure dude. I grew up on Sierra stuff. I played Scum games, and I'm happy to see an adventure game. But I walked into this. We'd all seen the casting, the trailer,
right.
2006. We'd all seen the thing that they had at Leipzig. So we walk into here.
Even more so. Do you remember going to the E3? That was the first E3 where they had PS3s on the floor, and they had those towers that had the debug units that were like air conditioned and cooled so they'd stay okay. And then upstairs they had that first. They had one panel that had the very first trailer of Heavy Rain running on it. And I was remember standing in front of it like this with my jaw open going, Wow.
And then it was like, it's never going to look back.
Right. That was.
Okay,
But it does.
Yeah.
and this is, we went to see this game after playing through the last 4 levels of Killzone, and Killzone has really amazing graphics, and I thought I wouldn't see anything that looked better that week, and then I did, and Heavy Rain has better graphics than Killzone 2, and that's kind of insane. But
that's real insane.
It is insane, but we didn't get to play it, and they didn't even show us the Leipzig thing, which which shows gameplay, which shows what the game is going to be like. Instead, they focused on selling us on the idea of the game and the technology behind it and how they're making this game, and a lot of that really surprised me, that the graphics are all being outsourced.
That's the most surprising thing when you told me that.
Right, and they're really upfront about it. They're like, yeah, why would we waste all this time creating every object in this environment when we can outsource it to Asia? And
see, that really dropped a ripple the first time I heard it in the office. I mean, I know a lot of people were responsive to that. They're like, wait, they're outsourcing all that? But then I think the explanation, which was what you're touching on the edge of there, makes a lot of sense.
Well, so
every animated TV show you watch is outsourced.
Yeah, The Simpsons is made in Korea, whatever. Yeah. So what they did was, instead of having regular game design people come and say, this is what the character should look like, this is what the world should look like, they hired an architect and a film set director to go around America and take tons of photos, get all these, these are the textures we want, this is what this should look like, and they got all the material together, they built really simple atomatics of all the areas and sent it all off and hey, make all these, and then when they get them back, they do a final pass for detail, textures, lighting, all that, and they showed us this is what we made, this is what we got, this is what it looks like. Mm-hmm. And they showed us 5 real-time environments on PS3. They're moving around in them that we had never seen before, and they're all phenomenal. I mean, just insane, the level of detail. And they're walking around this antique store, and every little clock, every object completely rendered. You can pick it up. It just looks real. It looks completely real. And okay, this looks completely real. And then they showed us 6 characters that hadn't been seen before. And if you looked at them, you could tell, okay, that isn't real. The eyes don't look quite right. Mm-hmm. The ears don't look quite right. Mm-hmm. But then when they play with the lighting, if the shadows were a little more, if the shadows fall the right way, you would think it's completely real, 100% real, which is just weird. It's totally strange. And everything's motion captured in the entire game. And because they have their own motion capture studio there, and over 70 actors. Every townsperson, every person you meet is a real person. They went on the streets in France and hey, everybody come by and get your face scanned. So every person in the game is unique and a real person.
That's awesome.
That's fucking cool, dude. Did you get to meet him?
Oh. David Cage, the writer and director, he's a real character. And I had never been to...
I've heard stories.
All right,
I want to meet him so bad.
I love this guy.
Okay, I had never been to France, so I didn't really know. You hear rumors, French people, maybe they're arrogant. I would say French people are proud. They all drive French cars. I was like, there's French car brands. There's 5 brands I haven't heard of. Okay, we get in there. David Cage.
They have a Citroën.
One of the things he said was, this is a good one, Sony did not choose us. We chose Sony.
That's awesome.
Right. The idea that they could have gone with anybody wanted them, and whatever. But he's very, very proud of this game, but he is not afraid to admit the faults of Indigo Prophecy. He straight up says the ending was bad, and he
was bad.
He felt like he had to do that. He felt like a mundane game with no supernatural element would not sell, could not exist.
Right.
And this one, he's like, no. I believe he's like, everyone else is making games for 12-year-olds. I'm making a game for adults. Adults who have adult sensibilities, who can handle hardcore things.
Thank God.
Fuck
See, I felt like the early parts of Indigo Prophecy were aimed at
an adult meaning mature themed meaning mature sensibility.
And not dumbed down.
And by the way, hopefully you played it as Fahrenheit, not Indigo Prophecy.
I play both.
I mean, he's looking to push the boundaries of even what you expect from adult content in games. So that's exciting.
But nothing gratuitous.
Not that we saw
in terms of violence or sexuality or anything.
I don't know. We'll see. I mean, it's about a serial killer. Okay. There's a lot of 7 in it.
Yeah. There will definitely be gratuitous sex and violence in it.
I think there will be.
But I think there's a question whether it's actually gratuitous or not, or if it should be in there.
Right. You know what? You're right. It's not. You know what? There will definitely be sex and violence, and it won't be gratuitous. I think you're right. Good call.
I thought. I mean, in Fahrenheit, the placement of it was gratuitous.
Yes.
And it's just okay, this is the sex scene.
Yeah.
But the execution of it wasn't.
Right.
You mean when you were having the sex as a corpse at the end of the game?
Spoilers.
No, you didn't.
You're technically not alive at that point,
and
yet she's jumping your bones.
You missed the opportunity earlier.
No, earlier, yeah, I know that too.
And to be fair, she does say you're cold.
Yes.
But his MO with his game is
shut up.
He wants compelling, deep, meaningful things that make you think, resonate with you, cause him real emotional responses in ways other games don't, and it's just really ambitious shit that other people aren't doing. And to hear him talk about it, it's very inspiring. And he also made a big point of he felt that they had to make a lot of compromises putting Indigo Prophecy across 3 platforms. And he's like, we wanted to make a game for only one platform. We wanted to maximize it. So this was never intended to be a multi-platform product. He always wanted to go with a platform holder. And in terms of gameplay, he didn't want to go into many details, but he did say that the way the narrative is set up, it's these interlocking fractal narratives that can go in many different ways.
Fractal narratives,
interlocking.
That's the new hotness.
Interlocking
right there.
noodle narratives. These.
So the deal is, there's a bunch of different characters that you can be, right?
Right, and characters can die. Like, say you die, the game goes on. And
right. Only that character's thread is no longer
right, and you'll intersect with other threads you wouldn't have gone to. And
that's pretty neat.
That's something that wasn't possible in Indigo Prophecy, where when you die, you died.
Right.
And even at the end of the game, you have a choice of whether one of the main characters can leave or not, but it didn't affect the game at all. I'm so glad that
one of the first things
that
I would want to know is, does somebody have to die? Is it possible to play it with nobody dying, or is the narrative dependent on somebody dying?
Good question. He wasn't answering. And he says because it's made for adults who have jobs and lives, and he wants it to be short burst gaming where you can come home, play it for 30 minutes, get a really compelling 30-minute chunk.
So like watching an episode of CSI or something.
Coming back the next day. And even when you finish this whole game, you can go back and play it again and see different things.
And is it an investigation again? Is it sort of detective story?
The beginning, the first scene is a crime scene on the side of the road on this highway where it's rainy, it looks beautiful, and obviously some huge crime has just occurred and you're investigating. So yeah, I think it is a detective story.
So fundamentally it is a detective story, but not all the characters
I think you end up being the victims. I think you end up being different people throughout it. I mean, it's not clear, but they showed us lots of different characters. And
you end up being the victim.
I think so. I mean, and there's one of the things
that alone right there is fucking. Awesome.
I can't confirm that, but
that's really cool. Just the supposition of it potentially.
Well, and maybe they don't have to be victims. Maybe you can change the outcome of who this serial killer is killing. And and like they really didn't want to go into the story. I mean, we kept pushing them. But
will we expect like the dual analog QTEs similar to Indigo Prophecy? Were they talking about that at all?
The combat, the interaction is definitely QTE-ish.
Right. I mean, we saw the stuff.
Yeah, with the buttons on the screen. But he wants it to be very, not gamey at all. Very not artificial. I mean, it's kind of has to be artificial with QTE.
Is it? Yeah. It's next summer, right?
Next fall.
Oh wow, it's still a year away.
Hopefully, cross his fingers.
Right, and it's all being done in English, which is good because there's not a lot of localization involved then.
Yeah.
And like Heavenly Sword or like Killzone, it's one performance. The same person is the face and the voice and all of the motion capture. And these actors have spent hundreds and hundreds of hours because there's all these different outcomes. Scenes can play out different ways. It's a tremendous amount of work. It's over 100 people on the team. I was shocked by how big of a production it is. And
it's a huge risk.
And how Sony's willing to back this adventure game. That's the whole thing. I was like, I can't believe this much money is being spent on an adventure game. I'm happy that it's being done, but it just seems really, really strange.
Tip of the hat to them on that, definitely. Yeah. Fahrenheit is always one of those games that, you always get asked that question, like, what's your favorite game? And it's always one of those games that, like, when I'm down to deciding between a couple of games, it's one of those games. Yeah. It always is.
I mean, I came into this a skeptic, and when I saw these environments and saw these characters and heard about what the story seems to be like, I wanted to be in it already. I wanted to be walking around these places, talking to people, looking at things. Yeah.
I love playing that game. What's your favorite game?
But yeah, so
it's a fun game.
I think I played that game this week.
What's your favorite game, David Ellis?
I actually hate that because I can never come up with one, except for my general answer is Halo, because Halo is the game that got me back into gaming. I didn't game for 2 or 3 years, and I picked up and played Halo when my flatmates, housemates, whatever, had it, and we played it, and it got me back into gaming. So for that reason, Halo deserves a huge...
Halo 1?
Halo 1, the original Halo.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, we used to play huge Halo LAN parties, so I totally get that, especially multiplayer. Shane, what's your when you're put on the spot?
I was asked this question yesterday.
I know that's why it's topical. It's because we've asked that question.
My go-to answer is The Legend of Zelda. It changed my life.
How did it change your life? I mean, it
just expanded my possibilities. I still remember being like, I didn't think that kind of game could exist, and I'd played some rudimentary like adventure on 2600 and whatnot. But
do you still think about it? I mean, do you still?
I still remember the day that I realized there was a second quest, and it blew my mind.
I want to rewind it for a second. What's more interesting is what are the ones that are almost there? Like, what are the ones that are almost there for you?
Super Mario Brothers is also before Zelda. Super Mario Brothers, another one.
Chrono Trigger was the first Japanese RPG that I ever played, and that really got me into that. So that holds a huge because I never would have played Final Fantasy.
So whittling it down to one is really tough, but I think within genres, I mean, like for me, Final Fantasy VII was the first one I ever played, like millions of others, and I had no idea that games could be that way.
That's another one that, again, it like reestablishes the landscape. You're like, oh, I didn't know these things could happen. And Heavy Rain, watching it again, I was like, this is the most adult game I've ever seen.
Fahrenheit for me is always like one of those ones that almost makes it. And my answer still to this day when people ask me that is Outcast, which no one, like everyone was like, what the hell is Outcast?
That infogram thing that was all voxel based.
Yep. Voxels are weird.
Yep. And you know what's really funny is Anthony, it's his favorite game too.
He looked like the dude from Star Wars with the weird headset on, right?
Lobot.
Yeah.
I love Lobot. How do you not love Lobot?
Anyway, there was just something fantastic about like the combination of combat and world and exploration.
And strange creatures and you could ride on.
You got to play a dude named Cutter Slade. Cutter Slade was awesome. Cutter Slade was the man. Who was yours, John?
Oh, geez, there's been different generations.
I mean, some of the ones that I always struggle with. I'll give you a chance to think about it for a second. I always struggle with Diablo 2 because I spent so much time playing.
See,
Diablo
for me, I would
2.
say Diablo 1.
Well, Diablo 1 also, but Diablo 2 like took everything Diablo 1 did right and made it.
A bunch of mine are actually PC games. Day of the Tentacle.
Oh, fantastic!
The game's hilarious.
X-Wing.
Oh,
not X-Wing versus TIE Fighter.
That was my favorite.
Day of the Tentacle. How about not Grim Fandango?
No, I mean I liked Grim Fandango, but Day of the Tentacle was like
make a mountain out of a molehill.
My first memory of like a video game being genuinely really funny.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
and then following on from that, Sam and Max. And just realizing that hey, these things, if they're written well, they can be something,
can actually work.
Something else. And then sort of in the PlayStation kind of era, it was Final Fantasy VII,
Metal Gear Solid,
original Tekken.
Tekken 3 was it for me.
Dude, Tekken 3 was me too. That's so funny you said
Tekken
that.
3 disappointed me. I was a big Tekken fan.
In fact, I was at the Musée Mécanique this week, and they had an original Tekken 3 machine there, and I got just
for 5 cents.
It was awesome.
Yeah, Tekken 3 was up there.
King
But I mean,
Chain
fighting games come and go. I mean, there's so much rollover on those. It's like you go from game to game to game to game to game to game.
Yeah.
That I find it hard to like say one of them is the pinnacle of that.
Right. When the original PlayStation came out, that was a big sort of just cultural life-changing, just the way I was playing games at home. I mean, I was running a PC Mag at the time, and that thing came out. I was running PC Zone at the time.
Are you still in the UK?
Yeah, and it was just I knew Phil and some of the team that had just gone over to Sony, and they were like, "You got to come check this thing out." And I can remember seeing Toshinden, which in retrospect was garbage, but
the first time
being blown away by it.
You're like, holy shit!
And Ridge Racer and Wipeout, and just being like, oh my god, I can't imagine. How can this fail?
Is that when you began your lifelong crusade to destroy PC gaming?
I just reminded when I took on my Saturn and played Panzer Dragoon, I had to pause. And I couldn't believe how good it looked. I was like, what the fuck? This
Final Fantasy VIII actually was that for me. The cutscenes in that 8 because they had excellent mocap.
It also transitioned directly from game to FMV in a much smoother way than 7 has.
Yeah.
But we digress.
I just think it's
considerably.
Yes. But it's a fantastic digression. I mean, that conversation, like you can have so much fun about it. You start talking about fighting games, and I would start to think, Virtua Fighter did so much for that genre, and then it consistently gets poo-pooed by a lot of people because it was such a you loved it or
VF was
you
huge.
Hated it. There's so many people who don't like that.
Street Fighter 2 consumed my life for an entire year also.
Right, and now Street Fighter is getting ready, especially with Street Fighter 4. It's going to be huge again. It's going to be huge.
Because I was in England and the original NES wasn't big over there at all, my first exposure to a Nintendo console was actually playing F-Zero because it was the first game that they imported into the UK. It was F-Zero and Super Mario.
Did it run the right speed of F-Zero there or no?
No, yeah. I mean, we would buy these machines and we would rip them apart and we'd have to install a proper cable so that it would sync up with the TV. Step down on the power, and then in Europe at the time there was a connector called a SCART connector, and we had to rewire everything so that we could get the right signal out of it into the TV.
Wow!
But I remember, so we imported a Super Nintendo. Super Famicom, sorry, and we had Super Mario World and F-Zero, and I remember putting F-Zero in and being like,
wow.
Yeah, Mode 7 blew me away. I remember ActRaiser, when you're spinning down into the first level, I was like, oh my god!
Even Contra, when the freaking thing comes in, and it's just like, jeez.
Yeah.
It's so fucking hilarious to me that, like, with all these great visual high-def televisions we have now and super high-end consoles with PS3 and 360. Look at the stuff we bring up when we talk about
I don't think I've been
we don't get wowed
as
as much.
astounded.
We're kind of jaded.
I think over time, the degree of the degree to which I am astounded by looking at things has diminished from those early. Because, the first generation leaps back then were just mind blowing.
The first time I saw Heavy Rain in motion, though, it was that for me very much.
I say when I saw this one particular head of a dude that looked so real that if someone walked in, they'd be like, "Oh, that's a real person talking to you right now."
I'm still
completely real.
I want to be astounded by the content.
Yeah, I hope
visually and sound presentation. I think we're there. We just need to be wowed by the content. We've been playing anything else? Anybody played anything else? I've been playing the hell is still Left 4 Dead. Left 4 Dead is some fantastic. If you have an Xbox Live connection or a PC connection, you should be playing.
Well, and it keeps going on sale on Amazon for like $29.39. So keep an eye on that if you're destitute.
I should buy this game. So
it's really fun.
Well,
John,
my brother wants to trade his brand new copy in, so you might be able to pick up for him for cheap because he said he's done with it.
How much fun have we had?
I've had a lot of fun with it, but for him,
if you have a lot of friends who play it all the time, it's awesome.
That's exactly it. We had the Game of the Year debate earlier this week, and that was such a source of contention, right? Was like,
are we going to do One Up Yours Game of the Year separate from One Up Game of the Year?
Let's not do a Game of the Year. Let's just talk. I thought what we do is we just talk
personal
personal Game of the Year.
Personal Game of the Year.
Yeah.
Personal Game of the Year, and just great games.
Let's save it for the special holiday episode.
Yeah.
Not right now.
Yeah.
All right. So our Christmas story to wrap this up, and this is, for me, probably the most interesting Christmas story I think I've read yet on the message boards. This is from Ronan1234. And this story goes from 1989. He says he was 11. Parents got them a Sega Genesis for Christmas. And I'm gonna skip some of this. It's a very long post, but if you want to read the whole post, it's on our boards. So basically, he and his brother found the Genesis ahead of time. They knew it was up there, and they're like dying to get to play the damn thing. They're like, how are we going to figure out getting to play our new Genesis that we know we have as early as possible? So the scheme they come up with is pretty fucking epic. So he said, we're excited, but we couldn't wait. So what we did was we came up with this great idea of moving all the clocks up an hour because they talked the parents into letting them open presents on Christmas Eve, but Christmas Eve wasn't good enough. They're going to move all the clocks up an hour.
It's a good plan.
Yeah.
So they reprogrammed the VCR, the microwave. My cousin and I were dragging the step stool around, changing all the clocks on the wall. We made sure we left no stone unturned. I even went into my mom's jewelry case to adjust her watches, and then into the garage to reset the time on the car radio. Not sure if our scheme was going to work. We then went to our uncle's house where my cousin helped us move all the clocks there ahead and even distracted everyone and got them out of the kitchen so we could sneak in and change the clock on the oven. So they've gone to full extent.
Impressive.
About the time the clock showed 10:30 p.m., my mom got this great idea from my aunt that we'd go to midnight mass before opening our presents, which started at 11 p.m. and ended at midnight. So we quickly went home to change and then drove over to the church. Mystified as to why no cars were in the church parking lot, my mom stopped in front of the church and then asked my aunt to run in and check. Things were busted, so my aunt came back, and my mom knew the church was empty. She's like, I don't think they're having a mass tonight. So
this plan's getting awesomer. Yeah, it's even better.
So my mom checks the time on the radio display on the car, which he changed earlier in the garage. Says, oh, well, I guess they're not having this year. Looking back at us, she says, I guess you guys can open your presents 45 minutes earlier when we get home. So, of course, when we get home, we run to the Christmas tree, start to rip and open our entire set of gifts an hour and 45 minutes earlier. So ecstatic, I crawl behind the TV while my brother opened up the box to get to the cables. After a few games of Altered Beast, we decide to give Golden Axe a try. Unfortunately, my cousin did not know the volume buttons from the channel buttons and flipped to the 11 o'clock news. Before I get to the TV, my mom pops out from the kitchen and emphatically says, I know these clocks are not right. You guys moved them up, didn't you? With my controller in my hand, we stood there looking like deer in headlights. I slowly hand the controller to my brother, which he then hands to my cousin, and my cousin hands it to my dad on the couch. And as my dad starts the game, he chuckles, I was wondering what you guys were doing running around the house earlier.
I would appreciate my kid's ingenuity in that.
Yeah.
You got to reward that kind of devotion.
That's a great story.
Absolutely.
That is by far awesome.
That's good stuff.
Ronan1234, dude, you so far, you are the winner.
That's inspiring.
If you got one better than that, you need to give it to us at boards.oneup.com. And Give us some categories. I mean, Shane, you asked for categories. We got no more retail.
I know.
Stories.
Come on, retail horror stories. You gotta have some.
I don't know, like present disasters.
If you participated in the trampling death of the Walmart employee in Long Island, tell us about it.
Wait, that wasn't funny.
That's not funny.
That's actually not funny.
It's too soon.
Like when you when you ask for a good game and you get a shitty game, that happens.
That happens. There was actually one guy who talked about how he had asked for any NES game and his mom had gotten him
that's his fault.
100.
His fault.
No, gotten him like 130 NES games.
Whoa!
Because he had gotten any NES game, so he had like 20 good ones and 110 bad ones or something. I don't know. Anyway, so we got NPDs when you come back. Stick around. We'll be right back with that. All right, we know some of you hate Sales Age and some of you love it. We're going to kind of jump through it because really the story is that there's not much story. It's sort of just continues.
It's what we expected, just a little more extreme.
Yeah, good God.
Well, and in some cases a lot more extreme. 2 million Nintendo Wii's sold in 1 month.
Wow.
By the NPDs. And we know the NPDs doesn't even count everything. So the phenomenal success of the Wii really continues.
Well, and almost 1 million were just over Black Friday weekend. So.
Yeah. And so, I mean, you have to be really... You have to be kind of excited for what the Nintendo Wii
The speed at which
be.
they were going was astounding. Like the day Walmart said, hey, we have tens of thousands of them, by lunchtime that day,
Gone.
they were gone.
Gone. And as a matter of fact, we have a story that's coming up that I'm going to report on that like one of their executives says, if you could see one, you probably should buy it because we're in trouble again. You guys we're going to sell out.
Same with Wii Fit. You can't find Wii Fit anywhere.
Right, it sells out all the time.
Yeah.
DS, 1.5 million. So between the two Nintendo platforms, 3.5 million pieces of hardware.
It's huge.
In 1 month. And that's North America. That's an NPD number, so we know who they're accounting from. That's astounding. And then you have to look right next to that at Xbox 360. 836,000, which is...
It's definitely good, but I think
definitely a good number.
I think a lot of people expected 1 million with the price cut and with the 2 free games. And
I think that's a fair bar to set, is that with the price cut...
And 2 free games. Like $120 of free games. And it is cheaper than Wii, but it's still doing really very well, of course. But
however, on the other side, and I know you were quick to say this, Shane, the PlayStation family outsold the 360.
Right, but at the same time,
no matter which way you cut it, any two combined PlayStation products didn't outsell
and every member of
360.
the PlayStation family is down year over year. I mean,
there's no way to spend that.
I mean, the PS3 is very expensive.
It is very
continues to be very expensive. And with the economic climate, you're probably not going to get the $500 thing you want. You're probably going to get the $200 thing you want.
As excited as we
Claus.
were about Heavy Rain, I have to say, and I made this tweet yesterday, and people asked me about it, so I'll just respond to it here, is that the reason that it concerns me to see PlayStation not doing any better than that is that having a unhealthy player in this game space right now, and having that unhealthy player be arguably the most important part of gaming in the last 5 years is very detrimental to what we as core gamers really, really embrace and love. I mean, it's a hard spot for the business to be in. Having Sony flounder is bad news for us. And 836,000 360s is not sufficient to make up for that.
I mean, yeah, it's a bad situation, and the economy's bad, and I mean,
but it's not just the economy that's bad.
Well, and the price, I think the price has to come down, but it can't right now. So yeah, it's in the long haul.
You got to be wondering what the meetings at Microsoft this week have been like. What do we have to do? It's $50 cheaper. We're giving 2 games away with it. We're marketing the crap out of it.
Why are we not at
Nintendo?
Huh?
I've maintained all along. It's a big part of the Wii's ridiculous success is the fact that Nintendo for 20 plus years has now been like the core in the American zeitgeist has been like that's what video games are for families. That's what video games are. You don't play video games, you play Nintendo.
Right.
And I think they're still trading on that to ridiculous success.
What is it when you have like a word that becomes synonymous with what it is? Like Xerox is a photocopy, Coke is a
Schenectady.
There you go.
Yeah.
But
Nintendo became that for video games.
And they have their heritage. They have like people like me who love Mario and Zelda who will still buy Wii and let it gather dust. But the big thing are kids. Kids love Wii, and moms with Wii Fit. It's a phenomenon. It's on every every TV show, every Today Show you watch, Entertainment Tonight.
Have you seen the Animal Crossing ad with?
Oh, yeah.
With the two girls, with the 20-somethings that are incredibly hot.
I think they were moms. I'm pretty sure they were moms. They're 30-something.
If I have to watch,
right, they're still hot.
If I have to watch Lisa Kudrow make Kung Pao chicken for her daughter one more time, I'm going to shoot her. But you can't deny Nintendo's success. But the thing is, you can't replicate it either. I mean, and Microsoft and Sony, they shouldn't even try because you can't. It's a magic formula that you can't do, and the industry is only going to get weirder and weirder in 2009 and stranger.
It is going to
further apart.
I agree
exactly.
I think
we're going to see a lot of Wii product and a lot of weird Wii.
You're
product.
almost looking at two different industries. Yeah. You have Microsoft and Sony, and Nintendo is its own industry at this point.
Well, and the thing this week I was thinking about has been
it goes beyond that. I mean, Pachter was actually saying that Wii Fit is a platform.
Right,
yeah, and Iwata had basically said that they're kind of doing their own thing now, and that they're looking at it as very different from the competition.
But what I find that's unsettling is this week I was thinking about how 10 years ago I was enjoying my Japanese Dreamcast that had just come out and I was playing Sonic Adventure.
Why did you do that to me? You did that to me too.
10 years ago I was playing Sega Dreamcast, and 10 years ago when I was doing that, I didn't think, hey, in 10 years I bet the industry-leading platform by Nintendo will have shitty graphics, worse graphics than what I'm playing right now. I never thought that. I never thought I'd be happy with it. And I don't understand why core gamers defend the Wii's success as good for the industry. I don't know. It all kind of upsets me.
Dude, why does it upset?
Well, I guess because I haven't played a Wii game in 6 months. That's why it upsets me.
What about we're going to talk about Dragon Quest 10.
I'm excited about Dragon Quest 10 because I love Dragon Quest, and it makes sense. And Dragon Quest always goes to the most popular platform, so I'm not surprised.
So if the Wii establishes itself as this very strong, solid installed base,
it has 45.
Yeah, it is.
So given that it has established that across all the territories, can it not be the PlayStation of this generation?
When you have the major third parties saying that, hey, that's the reason we have to drop our portfolio down is because nobody's buying our games on it. Cause
maybe they come around.
Yeah, we'll see.
I don't know. Maybe
I think it's a weird market condition, and it's great for Nintendo.
Activision sold well on Wii with Guitar Hero World Tour.
So you know what? This goes back. Before we get started digging into the games, this goes back to something that, like, the other concerning piece of this report about hardware and why I spoke about Sony is that PlayStation 2, because Sony elected to not continue to really stand behind it.
Yeah, they did. They put out the Batman pack.
They did.
Fuck. I believe. Like, for a tenth of a second, I was like, what?
They have Persona 4, but that's not Sony. That's
right. Persona 4 is great.
No, I'm half serious. They put out the Lego Batman bundle for $150.
Yeah, I think so.
So they didn't completely commit to staying with it.
Well, but
and they didn't completely commit to cutting it off.
After 11 years, they still sold 200,000. That's astounding.
It is astounding.
Well, the other astounding thing is that Xbox 360 is closer in price to the PS2 than the PS3. I mean, that is true.
That's a good.
That's a weird point.
That is a great weird point.
You know how much profit Sony's probably making on that PS2
and the PSP at this point as well.
I had a point, but it was deflected 10,000 pieces away. It's surprising, not surprising. Like the notable standout piece is that at 200,000, the PS2 sales are finally starting to trail off.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
and so the PS2 is finally coming to that end game.
Well, but it's still not $99.
I was going to say, and those numbers are not going to the PlayStation 3.
Yeah.
They're not transferring.
That's a big point. And the fact that it's not $99 doesn't matter anymore. Is that it's like they've come to the end game. They haven't planned the end game.
Well, they're
also
kind of at saturation point. I mean, the worldwide install base of the PS2 is like 100 and something million. I mean, it's it's
critical mass.
Yeah,
No, I agree. So my point though is that we were talking about Wii being like super broad base. PS2 was super broad base the generation before. They didn't transition cleanly to PS3, and yet at the same
high end.
I know it's too high end. I agree with you that it's too high end, but they didn't at the same time continue to really nurture the culture of, hey, let's continue to make great PS2 games and kind of bridge this gap while we're getting into where we can make money on PS3.
Compare that to, say what Microsoft did with the Xbox One. Or what Nintendo did with the GameCube and remarketed it.
I think the reality that...
They all took different approaches.
Reality that we have to face, and I think that as people that cover games have to face, is that there are so many Wiis going into the market every month that the nature of the people that are looking for games is kind of different now.
Mm-hmm. It is.
And that there's millions and millions of people, and even though the third parties aren't doing like massive selling games, they are producing games really cheaply and putting them out and still making a little bit of money on them. And the enormous amount of choice coupled with the enormous number of customers means you have a lot of people looking for a lot of different things. And it's not something that we, as an industry, and certainly not we as media, are used to tackling.
That's true.
Because it's like, the Gears of War 2 Xbox 360 model is the one that we're much more comfortable with. It's like, in November, of course, all of these people are going to be buying this one game, and with the Wii, there's no of course anything. It's like, the Wii owners are going to be buying hundreds of different games.
I mean, they're definitely going to be buying games that have Nintendo on them.
Right. But they're also going to be buying a lot of these games that are $19.99 out of the chute because they're a mini game collection, or they're a cooking game, or they're a some variation of. Someone reminded me the other day that the Pets games from Ubisoft are based on an acquisition that Ubisoft made nearly 15 years ago and hadn't done anything with.
Right.
And they're just sitting on this sitting on this screensaver IP, thinking, "Hey, we can bang out these games really cheap." And so the margin on these things must be huge.
Oh,
and then they don't have to sell that many to make an impact, and then go, "Well, we can do every kind of animal we can think of," and it's like it's changing. It's now about breadth as opposed to depth with the Wii and the DS. And I think there's a lot of people that are either looking for information that's just not out there, or they don't care. My kid likes hamsters. Done. And I think that's what the Wii is doing to games, is that it's making it that you're buying things in a different way, and you go into Walmart and you will see whatever's there. I mean, I bet Walmart's game section in 2009. Nearly all Nintendo. I mean, guarantee it.
What else would it be? I mean, that's what makes sense.
And the Wii section, you go to Best Buy, it's kind of scary place. It really is.
Yeah.
Full of pitfalls and terrible, terrible games. Like I feel bad for parents out there who go to Metacritic, look at the Wii list, more reds than you ever seen in your whole life on there.
So why not tell you the upside of this, which is that if Wii is successful, then it's not as graphically intensive to develop for. You can do a good game on it. You can do it with a smaller team. There's a great installed base. You'll be able to create a profitable game model off of selling into a smaller percentage of the installed base. This could be a success for us.
Well, too bad.
Why do we have to fight it?
Too bad people aren't making good games for it. That's kind of the problem.
I know they're not right now.
But what we're seeing is there's an awful lot of that going on already. There's a lot of small publishers putting games out on the Wii that are very special interest, that weren't particularly expensive, that are aimed at older people, younger people.
Like the cake genre. Like 5 years ago, and thought, the cake genre, let's invest in that. No, really, it's a growth market.
Yeah.
There's no doubting the Wii's success. I mean, the Wii right here has been the platform on which Guitar Hero is able to actually get itself into the top 10. So we've talked about Guitar Hero and Rock Band forever on PS3 and on 360, and yet it's on the Wii, the Guitar Hero World Tour
makes
hops
sense.
into the top 10. It totally makes sense.
It makes sense, and Guitar Hero is, there's only Guitar Hero as a band pack on Wii, because Rock Band still isn't out.
Comes out December 19th.
I know. Talk about cutting it fine with Christmas.
But I don't know. I mean, Shane, you and I having worked in retail, I think there's a great argument for that being a cool spot for them to drop in with that title. If they can build enough and get it into stores.
Yeah, but a lot of people don't
like right now. There's a lot of people that they went out on
already bought it,
and they went out and they bought the stuff, and it's like they want the music game. The music game, they have a Wii. Okay, big mountain of Guitar Hero World Tour Wii done.
And this is the part of the year where it starts with Thanksgiving, where families are getting together, and this is a game that families can get together and play.
Yeah, that's for sure.
So you don't want to wait till the last second to have it.
Yeah, I'm just throwing out there an alternative.
Yeah.
Like, it is.
I
cool.
think
it is neat to have. Like we've shifted further and further and further into the calendar to allow time for the games to get in and then make their sales numbers. It's nice to have something that comes out in December and say this is really a Christmas gift game.
Rock Band will do well is if there is a magical last minute flow of Wii hardware. That week,
Nintendo does a lot.
They do tend to do that very close to the end. That hey, this new spangly Rock Band game.
They sure should do that on
Christmas
64.
Eve.
Yeah,
honestly, what I look at on this list and it's funny, interesting, is the fact that of the 5 Wii games in the top 10, only one of them is from third party. I mean, it continues.
Also,
what you were saying
only
earlier.
one of them's new.
Yeah,
right. I mean, they continue to struggle to get the third parties into that same stratosphere of sales.
I think Wii Play should be disallowed because it's not. People aren't buying a game.
It's like a pack-in game with a controller.
They're buying a controller that comes with a game. It's like it doesn't count.
Yeah.
But I mean, Wii Fit. I mean, Mario Kart. I mean, look at that number on there. 637,000.
Mario Kart is selling out. It's very difficult to find at retail.
Yeah.
And Wii Music, as we predicted,
it bounced back. It did.
So the upside for the core gamer, what we'll call the core gamer side here, is that Gears of War 2 was the number one title in the MPDs, and
Call of Duty World at War on 360 right behind it.
And I would say, what I was about to say was that I think Call of Duty, people would argue that Call of Duty is actually the number one title, because when you add
Combined.
the 360 and PS3 versions, by the way, Call of Duty World at War on PS3 significantly outsold Resistance 2, which is a platform exclusive.
I think it'll be the
PS3.
best-selling PS3 game of the year.
I think it's already set itself up. I mean,
More than Metal Gear?
Potentially.
in North America. In North America, maybe.
Potentially.
I wish we had, I hate that we do these on Thursday afternoon because I didn't have time to pull it together. That would be a very interesting comparison, is what did Metal Gear Solid do on PS3
Like
versus
life to
these?
date?
Yeah, life to date.
Yeah.
What else we got there? Left 4 Dead, big success for Electronic Arts. Left 4 Dead coming in at number 8 at 410,000 sold.
That really surprised me,
That it was there?
that it was that big.
I don't think so. I think that game had a lot of momentum going into its
There
launch.
had a lot of momentum, but it
I
was
think
like
it built
super
right.
high. It was people like us momentum. It wasn't anybody else.
Have you
So
seen
that's
the
good
marketing
for
though?
us.
There are billboards everywhere with
good- it's good marketing.
Yeah, they did a lot of marketing.
Billboards are not going to sell 410,000
But it has
units.
No, but it's all part of it.
incredible word of mouth, great critical response.
No, I think, and that's what it's a testament to. In that the word, I mean, it was word of mouth more than anything on
And,
this
and,
thing.
and I would probably, I don't think it's out of the realm of possibility. It probably sold even better on PC.
Yeah, it's I mean,
Probably significantly better on
Well,
PC.
it's definitely sold better on PC. It's
an awful lot of guys of a certain age are just like they kind of woke up and like, oh yeah, wow, zombie
Just
shooter.
makes sense.
Bring
Like,
it on.
Seriously.
You know, I had friends that I'd not talked about playing video games online with for like all year. Would be like, do you have Left 4 Dead? We should play that. I haven't bought it yet, but we should get it. And it's like there's just something about that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Were they Irish?
Huh?
Were they Irish?
No.
I understand the Irish are very good at like running blockade and. Wii Music at 300,000. Disappointment or success?
How much did it cost to make? It's MIDI files. They don't.
Whatever. I mean, we'd speculated
Open source
that it would
music.
be
No one cares?
top, whether
That's
it
fine.
would
We
be
move on.
top 10. I'm interested to see.
I thought it would be higher. I personally thought.
I thought it'd be higher, but I mean, we speculated this might be the first not so hot, Wii branded game from Nintendo, particularly Miyamoto. I think when we do this next month.
And once Nintendo makes a deal with the school systems where Wii Music takes over for traditional music classes,
It's true.
Yeah.
they'll sell plenty of copies. Yeah.
Not going to learn much.
All right, so let's talk about fallout from the sales numbers. First of all, was a flurry of information coming out of Electronic Arts. John Riccatello spoke. First, they gave a what do you call that when you're doing a forward-looking projection prior to the sales releases?
Damage control.
Good call. Anyway, there's like a name for that. Anyway, he started talking about the what they projected for sales. He spoke to how they had done with some of their key properties. Most notably, he said that the new IP properties that they had invested in this year, that he was happy with them, despite them. And we've heard that Mirror's Edge has not performed up to expectations, and that Dead Space hasn't performed expectations.
No,
But,
they're
however,
happy. They're happy with Dead Space's.
Yeah, he was
Performance?
Yeah, he said he was okay with Dead Space. Because Mirror's Edge was singled out as the not so hot.
So, obviously, there was some concern about that. They're going to have to make cuts. They've already said they're going to make cuts, but those are not going to be where they make cuts. Where are these guys going to make cuts if they don't cut into Mirror's Edge, if they don't cut into Dead Space, if they don't cut into stuff they're doing on new IPs? Is it conceivable that EA Sports might fall under
I
the
think
hatchet?
it is, because I think EA Sports overall this year didn't do anywhere near as well as it was supposed to.
I mean, they're starting to run out of
EA
places,
Sports
right?
on the Wii.
I mean, they
I think the face breakers and bullshit celebrity
Oh God!
whatever the fuck it was called, things
Just
like
throwing
that.
money away.
Yeah, it's just like, what the hell were we thinking? That's where it's going to go.
This is
That's
not the right
because
time
they
for
were
them-
new
yeah.
IP, right? Facebreaker was new IP, and
Yep.
I don't even remember what it was called. Celebrity.
Oh, Celebrity Sports Showdown.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
horrific.
Well, I mean, I think there's some basis for what you're talking about, because Riccatello said, while we're cutting costs, we remain committed to investing in great game quality, in new properties, and in our direct-to-consumer initiatives. So it's obvious that they're not going to curtail what they're doing that pushes the envelope on the outside of doing the new
I
stuff.
think needs to start reading the market again as well. I mean, like if they're going to go, I think it's interesting that that they're revealing Fight Night on the Spike Awards, and the first thing that made me think is, why hasn't EA signed up UFC? Because I mean, like the UFC.
Well,
license,
they have a deal locked down with THQ.
Yeah.
I think.
Yeah,
for,
they do.
I think
Really?
it's sort of long term.
It's
but
So-
it's like, I mean, the UFC is like so big right now that the fact that it isn't a big deal in gaming seems really
It's a
strange.
missed opportunity for EA.
Yeah.
For sure.
Has the UFC actually ascended, and excuse my ignorance, have they ascended to the point where they are the new WWE?
Oh, yeah.
They're bigger than, I would say they're bigger than boxing. They're bigger than...
Bigger than boxing.
The charity thing they did for the
boxing
troops
needs to get
huge.
back to network television.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, what UFC did is, like, they keep doing these events that aren't pay-per-view, which is it's transition back towards, let's get it in front of everybody.
Yeah, and you remember, WWF, back when it was WWF, used to do that where they'd have like a Saturday night main event.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
That I definitely do remember.
Yeah.
All right, so let me throw you a curveball because it's been postulated about a month ago that Disney might be looking at Electronic Arts as an acquisition, and that subject has come back up again. Both the Wall Street Journal Online and the Motley Fool have spoken about this. We don't talk a lot about investing, but the Motley Fool had this very interesting article online. You can look it up on themotleyfool.com. 5 reasons that Disney should buy Electronic Arts. I'll blast through them real quick, and you guys give me a quick comment. Number 1, Disney is no stranger to gaming shopping sprees. Number 2, EA Sports and ESPN were made for one another. Number 3, bring on Warhammer. Number 4, racing towards a checkered flag. And number 5, convergence circa 2013. What do you guys think?
What's the racing towards a checkered flag?
Racing towards a checkered flag is that they have these car stories, such as from Herbie to, as they put it, from Herbie to Lightning McQueen. Cars have been prolific characters of Disney in live action and animation. Disney's flagship parks have miniature speedway attractions.
Sounds like someone had to fill out his top 5 list with a 5th.
Yeah, I mean, the EA Sports ESPN one is a no-brainer.
Yeah, exactly.
I think it's a little bit of a push there, but I mean, they're basically saying that there's a lot of crossover between characters.
Well, they have a game division that they've been successful in some areas and not in others, and they are successful in things that EA is not.
That's right. Yeah. However, number 5, the convergence thing is really interesting because we'll think of it in terms of video game properties, but one of the points that Motley Fool brings up is how cool would it be able to have video game properties become attractions in the theme parks? And that works really well.
I think Disney's looking at what happened with Cars, where it's like, as a movie, in the grand scheme of things, it wasn't that big of a deal, but all of the associated stuff means that they're redoing Bolt this week with a Cars short on the front to kind of boost, to make it better do the box office better than Madagascar. And then they moved up the Cars 2 movie by a year because it's such a massive merchandise. And tied into that is they're doing a Cars online virtual world, which is based off the Club Penguin engine, which is a way to sell toys. Because it's like you buy the toy, you get the code to unlock the thing in the game, and it's like, geez, when you start plugging into a big game publisher, and
we need to start a one-up pyramid scheme. There's money in that.
Well, and EA is a deal right now, so
EA is a deal. It's trading in the high teens,
and it's in the 60s 6 months ago.
Yeah, I mean, so
it's so funny. A year ago, we were talking about EA acquiring 2K or Take-Two.
I mean, this is what happens in this sort of economy, right?
Yep.
I mean, it makes sense. And EA may still acquire someone a prior to Disney, and by virtue of acquiring them, Disney thinks, wow, this is an even better buy. We got to go get these guys.
Do we see? I think just the opposite. I think they're not going to acquire somebody because they want to make themselves lean and attractive as possible.
Do we have the Atari acquisition thing in news?
Of Cryptic? No, I didn't put that in there. But if
I thought that was cool. I mean, like,
it is cool.
Everyone thought Atari was on the ropes.
Oh man, they're not on the ropes.
And the
way they're bouncing back by making these like savvy, like very gamer focused, gamer friend, like, stuff that when they say, "Hey, we just did this," everyone goes, "Huh? Oh, that's kind of cool."
I mean, I think that I stood there and was like, "Phil Harrison is going to Atari, really? Why?" And now he's brought in a couple of other folks who were with him at Sony, and they've completely realigned themselves as a really good game company. They picked up some of the Vivendi stuff that we were like, where's this going to go?
Yep.
Namely Ghostbusters.
Yeah.
Excited about that.
Tremendous acquisition.
Well, and the word came out that Ubisoft was also looking to get Cryptic, and Atari got it first.
And Atari gets it before Ubisoft. That's amazing.
It's huge.
That is absolutely huge. That's a big deal.
So are we finding out in the Spike thing this weekend who picked up Brutal Legend? Is that why it's being shown?
I think so. Yes.
Yeah, it's got to be, right?
I mean, Jack Black's hosting.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Denise Kegler, who is the corporate affairs vice president for Nintendo of America, told the Industry Standard that it's true that despite the amazing amount of product we've been putting in the channel, some locations around the country are still experiencing sellouts. This is with concern to the Nintendo Wii, which we noted. John, you pointed out to me, I was like, I can still get it. I can still see it on Walmart. And you pointed out to me, no, you can't. It's sold out
Walmart.com is kind of misleading in that you have to go 2 layers deep before it tells you it's out of stock.
It looks like it's there. So I didn't realize that. But yeah, the damn thing is sold out everywhere again online. It's going to be completely hit or miss again. You had that deal where you walked into Best Buy in San Rafael or whatever, right?
When they got upset with me for taking a picture.
So
I should have bought a bunch.
And we saw the same case over at our Best Buy here in the city, and I guess those are all gone now.
Yeah.
And so
it was weird. There was a lull, but I think everyone wasn't. I don't think people were expecting there suddenly to be this supply, and then everyone
took a few days.
Yeah, and it was like, oop, gone.
Yeah.
So is it going to happen again? I mean, when I went and did the rest of the research on this, already the secondary resellers on Amazon are like $340.
I think it's like absolutely like unbelievable and completely unacceptable that Nintendo is not able to keep up with demand on this thing.
Pretty nuts.
When it came out in 2006.
Yes.
This is absurd.
What's your point? 3 years later, you still want them?
It's 2 years, but yeah.
It's 3 seasons, though. This is the third
Maybe
holiday
Nintendo
season.
could acquire some of those Sony factories that aren't working so hard these days.
Oh!
Wow, you are like harsh tonight.
Oh! I mean, they may not be working that much harder in the future because Dragon Quest, which is huge in the Japanese market, will be going to the Nintendo Wii. And this was announced at a event over in Japan where they were talking about Dragon Quest 9, which is coming for the DS. And by the way, did you notice the price that Dragon Quest 9 is for the DS?
Yes.
It's $65 fucking dollars.
It's less expensive than the new Tales game that comes out in 2 weeks.
Holy crap! $65 for a DS game?
I think Final Fantasy 3 was like $70, and Super Nintendo games were like $120.
Wow, dude. Seriously.
I paid $70 for Home Alone for NES.
I paid $99.
Why?
I paid $99.99 for
so I didn't, but-
Fantasy Star 4.
Yeah.
So.
I paid £100 for Virtua Racing on the Genesis.
Wow.
Because
Yeah,
It's not a bad deal. The SFX chip.
Yeah.
Really, the only thing
Double stack.
The only thing surprising about this announcement is they announced its existence before Dragon Quest 9 comes out. That's kind of weird.
Yeah.
And my fear is that it will look worse than Dragon Quest 8, but hopefully Level 5 is working on it and it'll look just as good, which will be fine.
All right. And we found out also this past week, courtesy of Famitsu, who did a little math and added up the sales for the year, that Metal Gear Solid 4 is currently the best-selling PS3 game in Japan. It sold 671,000 units for the year. The rest of the list was kind of interesting, though.
Are we really surprised by that?
No, I'm not surprised at least by that. The rest of the list, though, is Hot Shots Golf in place number 2.
That's always huge.
Yeah, I'm buying
This is a really good game.
Dynasty Warriors 6.
Okay.
Dynasty Warriors Gundam. And, I know.
Still popular there.
Yeah.
And
Like the
Pro Evo
robots.
Soccer.
Okay, that's...
I mean, how did Pro Evo Soccer not wind up higher than those? Because there was
you gotta like big robots beating the crap out of each other.
Hey, there was a story that I don't have it in the news, but like last week they said the PS3 sales doubled just on the next.
Well, Pro Evo just came out 2 weeks ago.
Right, it just came out and it doubled PS3 sales. So why was the other one not?
Well, there was a bundle as well.
I don't know, man. Seriously, that's bizarre. Dynasty Warriors Gundam.
It's still popular. Part 2 comes out in a few weeks.
Are you gonna pick it up?
No, God no.
Did you play it? Did you play it? It was
No.
It was not cool.
That's a very politic way to say it.
Dude, it was not cool. It's not cool.
I mean, on every possible way of saying that, it was just.
Wait, you don't like giant robots?
But I mean, just whatever. Next news.
Speaking of not cool.
Speaking of not cool, after all this time, all those betas, everything else, PlayStation Home drops yesterday, and people are like, oh shit, PlayStation Network doesn't even work. I can't get it downloaded. I can't get in.
I'm not shocked by this.
I would call this off to a predictably rocky start.
Yeah, exactly.
Everything's like this.
You're right.
This happens to everything.
You're right. Everything is like that.
Do you think their heart's still in it?
I think the sales people and the co-marketing people's hearts are still.
There's a lot of money to be made.
Yeah, a lot of money to be made there.
Yeah.
Especially if you want chairs in your apartment.
I perceive there's definitely a schism there between people who are the on the home team side and then the people who are like, why are we still fucking around with home? What we need is a great online service that facilitates us having, games and community play on the games. And we don't need home because home, I have to say, from watching you guys fool around with it for an hour, and admittedly, it's just for an hour, I don't get the gaming tie-in. It's like, it's very Second Life-ish.
Well, the games you can play there, like walk and play chess, play bowling, play this Red Bull game. I think that's cool. It's something
I can do these.
Sutton apparently got hustled at chess on a home. So
no, but
it's interesting.
you don't buy these games; you just walk up and play them.
Yeah, they're free.
They're free. I mean, and
they're in the world. They're within the world, right? You don't download anything.
It's diegetic, and I think
it's what?
Diegetic. So I think when
I need to look that up.
When your friends are on and you invite them back to your place and you're chatting and launching games, that's awesome. But anybody who expects home to be like World of Warcraft or something, you're going to be disappointed. But it is.
But I'm saying if you are looking for friends to dance with, there are plenty of partners available.
You want to watch some Twilight videos? You can do that there.
I just want to dance, so that's good.
I think expectations play a lot into this, and if your expectations are up to the moon, you'll be disappointed. If you are guarded expectations, you'll think, this is all right.
If people are listening and they haven't downloaded it yet, or they're thinking about getting a PS3 for Christmas, what should their expectations of home be?
It should just be added. Like it's not necessary at all.
Yeah, it's just there. It's
it's extra shit for you to mess around with.
Enriching your content experience.
Now I'm going to ask the question I asked in the beginning of the second segment, or when we were talking about it a little bit. Avatars or home, which one, as something you use on a regular basis, do you really care more about?
Neither.
You know what? I'm going to agree with you on that. I actually agree with fucking Shane on that. Neither.
Because it doesn't affect my experience.
No.
Really.
My experience is all about the people I'm playing with. It's not about how you get together.
It's about my game,
play.
the games you're playing.
I like the party system, and if home gives me the party system, then I don't care what the front end looks like. John, what do you think?
I do like the avatars.
Yeah?
I like the idea of games properly integrating them. I think that would be
I feel like the avatars do hit a nice midpoint between the very realistic and boring character models in PlayStation. People are making boring looking.
They look like
David Ellis.
They look like people.
I don't know. Maybe
I think Home's avatars are more sophisticated looking.
Well, more sophisticated, and they look like generic,
people.
Yeah, but I don't want that. I want them to be a little stylish or just,
home avatars are the guest caricature.
Version. Yeah,
like the guest store version.
But see, my guy, since I have this sweet mustache,
I'm sorry, the diesel store
wearing
version.
sweatpants. People are running up to me to say hi to me just because I look different. Everyone else has got the same navy blue full length T-shirt.
There aren't very many free options right now. If you want to spend a lot of money for cool shit,
Nick's not just going to shave his beard again to have an accurate online
There are
representation.
no beards available right now.
No beards.
That's why I went with the stylish mustache.
Beards sold separately.
There is, however, thinning hair.
Screw that. I was going to download it tonight. I'm not going to now. I can't have a beard. I was very upset by there was only being one full-face beard option in the avatars.
Fuck this, they have none.
There's a bunch of me beards.
That's true.
My me looks awesome. I made my dog the other day as well.
Oh,
that's not easy.
You what?
I made my dog as a me.
It's not easy.
No, it's not. It's hard.
All right, now we're back on track again. I'm speaking to GamePro, the Sony hardware marketing director, John Kohler, had some interesting comments that I kind of didn't ring true with me, which is the reason I brought this in. And he said that Sony has no plans for doing anything like Netflix on PS3. He says we're concentrating most of our efforts on our download service, both rentals and downloads of movies and TV shows. Our efforts will continue to be there.
Our obstructive movie download service.
Because our customers want to own the content, and then the part beyond that,
we don't let them do that. We just let them borrow it.
He said, I was in a focus group in New York recently. The topic of Netflix came up with a group of 360 owners. Most of the people weren't aware of the Netflix agreement. Are you fucking kidding me?
How recently was this?
Exactly. That's the question, right? Because
I was in a focus group 3 years ago, and no one mentioned Netflix.
No one did a damn thing about Netflix. All I can say is every night when I get on to live, or not every night, but when I get on live,
a significant number of people on my friends list are watching TV or movies on Netflix. Yeah.
Like watching a movie or watching a video or browsing their instant queue or something like that. I think this is nuts.
Now, it is possible that maybe Sony wants people playing games more so than watching movies on their outside of Blu-ray.
If you drop the $14.99 or whatever it is they're charging for Dark Knight,
and
it's a big file because it's a long movie, once you delete it, it's gone, right?
Really?
You can't re-download it?
Really?
No, it's tagged. You can get it.
Is it tagged?
I'm twice or something?
Yeah,
there's a cap on it.
Yeah, I think it's twice.
It's capped, but it is tagged. You can go back and get it again.
Yeah, that's whereas on even on Microsoft's video download, if you're doing TV, you can go back months later and re-download it.
Yeah. I think this is just a smokescreen. They're in bed with Blockbuster.
They have a streaming
interesting.
service?
They do.
Maybe
that's a good theory.
I think they're in bed with
Blockbuster just had their first set-top box.
I think it's a smokescreen, and they're in bed with Blockbuster. I was also on this same sort of sphere. Major Nelson had a post on his blog that since the launch of the new Xbox experience, they've encountered all kinds of fantastic sales extravaganzas for Xbox Live.
I can see that, and I don't think it's going to last. But I spent more time tooling around in the Xbox dashboard to kind of poke around. And I think this is why Kefling sold well and why Uno sales increased by 600% or something crazy, right?
650% increased in Uno sales.
But how low were the sales?
Exactly. I mean, when Uno first came out,
they were pretty good. I don't know these specific numbers, but I know Uno was one of their better sales. I mean, Uno is a casual game powerhouse. Everyone knows
Uno's amazing.
I like it. I mean, it was also one of the first games to support the Vision camera.
You're being serious, right?
I really love Uno.
I mean, lots of people like Uno. It's a very popular thing, right?
No, but I mean, it had peaked.
Yeah.
And I think the inclusion of avatars reminded anyone who wanted to see an avatar somewhere other than in the front end. You drop the whatever it is, 800 points for Uno. It's really cheap, right?
Yeah.
And
it's even less than that.
Yeah, and it's like, and you have a game with your avatar in it, because after you spent 15 minutes fussing over whether the beard looks right or not, you want to do something with it, right?
You wanted to actually take a step rather than burping or waving.
Yeah.
If I were Microsoft, I think the takeaway for me looking at this is that the thing that they wanted to get out of this, which was getting more people connected, actually worked out in that they had 33% more people adding new friends to their friends lists. And I mean, that's the deal, right?
I will say Home is already having a similar. I've noticed a similar reaction.
Absolutely.
I'm just walking around and just random people click X and send me a friend request.
That's a problem.
But I think what they're finding now is that they have a better foundation for what is a social network with a lot more potential. Mm-hmm. That for how long that Xbox Live has been connecting people, they've not really done much with. Like, beyond the fact that you and me are friends and we can go play together, there's not a lot else that it's done in terms of social network functionality or letting us share things.
The club function of Home has a lot of potential, actually.
Yeah.
The club function, actually, that's a good point. The club function has more potential than just I have an apartment in a home.
Yeah.
Yeah.
John, you and I will both be at CES in January. Can't believe it's only like 3 weeks away.
I know.
That fucking sucks, doesn't it? So do you think this is true? I mean, this is my prediction here. And I was pulling together some stuff, and the Wired blog, the Wired game, the Wired Gadget blog also picked up on this. There's a prediction over on Barron's that Zune phone is coming to the Microsoft keynote on Wednesday night. You're shaking your head no.
Every year at CES, there is a rumor that Microsoft's going to announce something. Last year, it was Netflix at CES, and it didn't happen. Every year, there's a rumor.
We got Netflix.
Eventually, but every year, there's a rumor that's going to happen at CES, and every year, it turns out to be not true. And I think this is just another example of that. I'll be shocked.
I personally think Jay Allard's going to stand up there with a real mock-up phone.
Wait, has anyone seen Jay Allard in a long time?
I think he's real. I heard he's real.
He's Zune, dude.
He's Zune. He's going to stand up there with a Zune phone in his hand.
Zune anymore.
Oh, really?
No, he's actually...
Is he the tablet PC now?
No, he's like a creative. He's like creative evangelist for them. He's a very generic sort of title.
And yet you never see him.
That's the go stand over there job.
It is sort of the go stand over here. I still think you'll see him on stage. But
there's been Zune phone rumors now for what, 3 years?
I mean, Microsoft has to do something in the mobile space because Windows Mobile isn't doing what they wanted to do.
Windows Mobile 7, they'll show that.
They will show that.
And obviously,
Zune integration as Zune being the player for Windows Mobile makes sense. In which case,
I'm not sure about that.
Zune stuff in phones, I believe, but maybe not a Zune phone.
Okay, so they have all along said that Windows Mobile was its own space, and they weren't going to create a Zune phone that competed with that. However, they acquired Danger in February, and Danger are the guys who were the software and all of the...
They did Sidekick, yeah.
They did Sidekick. They were the software and all of the, creative space of what made a sidekick when you handled it. Mm-hmm. And people still buy sidekicks because it's the best messaging phone out there, and it's a great device if you want to use it as like a mobile AIM client or a mobile AIM device. I just think that these guys...
buy Danger without doing something new.
Exactly. So Danger plus Zune, and they don't have to go to HTC. As I picked up from the register, NVIDIA is working on a secret chip for them for a mobile device. We don't know what it is. It just makes too much sense.
Maybe we'll finally get our Xbox Live.
Live anywhere.
Exactly. Like Danger Girl is going to have it because remember also XNA 3.0 supports Zune in game design. So here's a device that could be
you download it through it's the 360 spitting out to a device.
It finally is that exactly.
Smart.
It's you buy Kingdom for
Zune phone confirmed.
Dude, I'm serious. I really feel good about this one.
Halo babies for Zune phone confirmed.
We'll see. I'd buy it. I'm still looking
Halo
for a
babies?
phone. I hate my N78.
Oh, do you now? Huh.
I fucking hate my N78.
How's that N78?
You know why I hate my N78?
Because it's not an iPhone.
Because it's a plasticky piece of junk. and Nokia used to make nice quality hardware. And now they
Wow,
make
you
junk.
really turned. You love that.
Yeah.
The back on this thing is garbage.
It's got a wonderful camera.
It does have a great camera.
That's
the
it.
camera is awesome. The camera in the flash is awesome. But I don't like an iPhone either. I don't like the form factor on it. I don't like it.
It's your right to be wrong.
So we're coming down to the year here. What else we have? The first of the 2008 Game of the Year awards have been made, and that was X-Play. And I thought this was kind of unpredictable. They chose Fable 2.
Unpredictable.
And then
Thank you, Dr. Jameson.
Wait, did you miss the drama when Attack of the Show's Kevin Pereira came and said he disagrees?
And then they sent a press release out about to make us aware of it.
I can't believe you played into that. I was going to ignore all that part.
No, but I think what you're going to see is there's so many good games this year. There's a wide lineup, a lot of different
I definitely
choices.
think before the end of the year we should do personal games of the year.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because rather than declaring one, I think we should each have personal.
That's personal the game of the year, but I think we should also just talk about some of the great games this year, because what came out to me from the conversations we had around the One Up Network.
I didn't mean now.
Next week.
I know.
Think about it. Think about it next week.
But what came out to me was that there are a lot of great games, and there's a lot of games that merit respect and our acknowledgement of, hey, this is a really great game. We should talk about it. So that's that. John have you finished Fallout 3 yet?
No.
Well, there's DLC coming, baby.
I know, and it's big.
It is big, and it's only $10.
Yeah.
This is perfect, right?
They learned from Horse Armor.
Are you happy with this model? $10 for 5 hours?
Yes.
Okay.
It's a good price.
I was going to say, wasn't the Mass Effect stuff last year like $10 for 90 minutes?
Yeah.
I agree. I think it was Joystick's story that I read that actually said that this is called Operation Anchorage.
Speaking of, where's Mass Effect DLC? Weren't they supposed to do more than one? Sorry, I just thought about
They were.
that.
There was a bunch supposed to come.
Yeah.
They were hoping we hadn't noticed.
Jesus Christ.
Still waiting for 1,000,000 planets to explore. I remember when John was like, yeah, you really will go to those planets. Go,
They showed us a bunch.
There's a rock planet and an ice planet
And a lava planet and a jungle planet.
Wait, there's a jungle planet.
Yeah.
They're working on Dragon Age. Come on, cut them some slack. There's a new video. Dragon Age. It's Dragon Age. All right, there you go. There's that.
Let's say what it is. Operation Anchorage. If you've played Fallout all the way through, they're talking about Anchorage being the front line of the war
China,
and the beginning of the. And is it a retrospective story? Is it going? Are you going back in time? Have they specified?
No, they haven't. But as I was starting to
I think it's a simulation.
and they confirmed the existence of Cyborg Palin.
I think it's a holographic simulation.
It's a simulated.
Oh, so kind of like Vault.
Yeah.
Yeah.
and that's part of the scenario and the limitations.
Almost gave something away there.
almost.
Sorry.
This is all in the press release and news out there. I think they also released some screens, didn't they?
Yeah, there's a screen
did.
of someone in a Brotherhood of Steel armor.
So there you go. People enjoy that. Last but not least, because I'd love to end on funny stuff. This is like totally bizarre to me. So one of the FCC commissioners was speaking to the Practicing Law Institute. This would be FCC Chairman Deborah Taylor, where she said that you might find it alarming that one of the top reasons for college dropouts in the United States is online gaming addiction, such as World of Warcraft, which is played by 11 million individuals. So now
All of whom are in the United States going to college.
World of Warcraft now is the reason Joey dropped out of college.
Good excuse.
It wasn't that he got a good job offer or that
He couldn't afford a university anymore, Maybe student loans, government loans drying up.
Yeah.
Wasn't any of that.
Family problems, personal issues.
His new affectation for crystal
that
meth.
bitch that dumped him.
The rhetoric that video gaming cites. Yes, actually, if you go to the story we have on this, we cited that there have been studies that showed some of those other things that, like, the number one source of people leaving college is that they got a great job. Mm-hmm. Guess what? They left
Farming gold.
I would say I have a study that says number one source of bullshit quotes about video games is bloviating politicians. There, I just pulled that out of my ass. Take it.
Guess what? She's not into net neutrality either, and she's trying to advance an agenda of clamping down on what kind of content might be.
She won't be on the FCC much longer.
Hey-o! All right, so there you go. So we need Christmas stories from you because we have very little time. We need you to tell us why we're wrong about whatever it is we haven't even told you yet was our game of the year because we're just douchebags and we're obviously wrong in the first place. What else we need?
They can probably do that without us actually saying.
Yeah, we don't even need to do a story. We don't even need a show next week.
We don't have to ask them to tell us how we're wrong. It just kind of happens.
It'll be a holiday spectacular. Don't worry about it.
What else do we need? Do you guys watch anything great on television? We didn't do television this week. Did you watch anything great on television?
I did, but I kind of got
Shane's going to be addicted to
I'm going to cut you out, but tell us what your television pick is.
That'd be Ina Garten is the Barefoot Contessa. She is sexy.
And sensual, he said.
She's not bad. Yeah. John, what's your television connection?
This past week?
Yeah, this past week.
Oh, God. Well, actually, what I did, I watched the whole season 5 of Entourage.
Oh, it's a good season.
It is.
I thought.
It's a good season.
Has one
No
of
argument.
really there's an expression that Ari uses that I'm really looking forward to being able to use.
Which would be?
I don't think I can
Can't say it.
You can't say it on this show?
No.
It's too much.
You know what? 5 is the last season, right?
Yeah.
No.
Most recent season.
Yeah, it's the most
one,
recent one. Yeah. They're already in production for next season.
Yeah.
Though.
What's the expression?
I can't say it.
But it's awesome.
All right, we'll get it after the show.
It starts with Rusty, and anyone that watched it will know.
Oh, yes. Why can you can say that we can say that on the show.
I cannot say Rusty Cunt Bucket on one of yours.
Just did right there, baby. That's the deal right there. Rusty Cunt Bucket is the. I'm still. Do you have Showtime? You still don't have Showtime, do you?
I don't.
Dude, you got to get Californication. You really have to watch.
My brother's kicking my ass for not watching Dexter, the season 3 of Dexter.
Dexter's
He's
awesome.
totally all about that. And
They put it up on iTunes really quick.
Yeah?
You can download, and they do the
Okay.
seasons for like $20.
I would probably
true.
just do that. I've been watching the Watchmen motion comics on iTunes. Have you guys been doing that at all?
Well, Marcy, who works here, her husband is the guy that does that.
Get the fuck out of here.
Yeah.
Yeah, he totally is.
Holy crap. I like those a lot.
They're very, very good.
And you can actually buy them on Xbox Live Video Marketplace as well. But for me, for the iPhone, that's perfect.
I am blown away by how it's the actual panels from the book.
Yeah.
And he does stuff with them, and we had dinner the other night. I'm like, how do you do it? And he's just like, it just takes a long time.
Yeah, that is amazing. I'm enjoying them a lot. I mean, it is just one guy doing all the voices. So when he's doing a female voice, if you've listened to a lot of audiobooks, you're totally used to that.
The guy, it's Ross Church's voice.
Yeah.
As everybody, but it's the guy from the movie, and apparently that was mandated by Zack Snyder. It was something that he wanted. He wanted it like a radio play where one guy is playing all the parts.
Yeah, I like it a lot. And my goal for over the holiday season is to get Shane addicted to Mad Men because I just got season 1, the Blu-ray, just came in from Amazon today. So
you guys know I was notoriously hating on the American Office because I watched the British Office and I really loved it. And
it's different.
You were explaining
it's a different
to me that they are really different. So third season is really where it came into its own, isn't it? Because I'm watching it on my Netflix, like we're talking about through 360, and I'm like, first of all, why is third season of Office so long? It's like 26 episodes.
That's normal. Most seasons
for American?
26 episodes is standard.
Is it 22 or 26 is the standard, yeah.
26 standard is 13.
Well, I'm like 15 episodes in, and wow, it's this is where it started to set itself apart. It's not trying to be a Americanized version of The Office anymore. It's just really
it was about that time that I think 40-Year-Old Virgin came out, so Steve Carell probably had a lot more creative input to the show.
You know, that makes sense because he seems to have a lot more confidence just in his position, and he's just very natural playing that character.
And they evolved the character a lot more.
They really did. I'm curious to see how it's going to work out now because I think I haven't watched. I stopped watching it after season 2, so I'm kind of in this spot where I'm like, wow, how are they going to resolve some of these relationships they're setting up that are on very, very much terminal velocity of shit's going to hit the fan. Mm-hmm. So
I need to find a new show to pick up. I think I was going to start watching The Shield because the series just ended, and everyone I know that watches it absolutely loves it. In fact, thinks it's one of the best shows that's ever been on television. So I think I'm going to pick up The Shield because so many of the shows I watched was True Blood, Entourage.
You know, right now Jeff Kanata is screaming into the fucking whatever he's in front of. He's like, "How can you not have watched that yet, David Ellis?"
Hey, but at least I get to watch it with fresh eyes. So that's always. I'm always depressed when people are going through and watching The Wire for the first time. I was like, I wish I could go back and watch it with fresh eyes without having ever seen it before.
We were talking about that last night at dinner. So do you think it's better to watch shows like that on DVD or actually experiencing them through the pace of the season?
I think a lot of shows it works better to do them 3-4 at a time.
Yeah, especially Entourage is one of those shows that works particularly well.
Me and my wife watched all of season 5 in 3 nights. We did 4 a night.
Mm-hmm. And it's interesting because for instance, I've been a big Wire fan, and we hit. We went Wire season 1 totally grabbed me. I loved Homicide, and then season 2 hit, and I was like, wait, why am I on the docks? And what happened to all these characters I loved? And it took a number of episodes to get into it before you hit here's where they're going to tie it back together, and here's how this is going to work. And so the counterpoint of that is if you're watching on DVD, like you said, you're blasting through 3 or 4 episodes a night,
and you get to know the characters better.
You get through that really fast, so it doesn't really become an issue.
It works especially well with serialized TV, which is kind of where TV is going anyway. So yeah, and TV shows are making so much money selling their shows on DVD. So another revenue stream.
Heavy Rain can be episodic like that.
When Shane was talking, I was thinking that is a game, that is an experience that would work perfectly for episodic gaming. But obviously,
why were you shitting on Alan Wake?
I'm not shitting on it. I feel
the exact same way. That of the two, the one that excites me more is Heavy Rain.
Yeah,
I don't know, dude. Alan Wake could be really cool too.
I don't think it could be very cool, but it could have been even cooler had it come out 2 years ago.
I think we saw it too early. I agree. I think we saw it too early.
And then you didn't see anything for so long.
Well, we'll see how it all works out. Anyway, let's go home. What do you think, guys? We'll go home.
Yes.
You guys can see how it works out. Catch up with us at boards.oneofacon. For Shane, who is already bugged out of here, and David and John, thanks very much for joining us. Happy holidays. This is Garnet saying until next week, we are out.